Hello, welcome to another stream. To another Zozin stream. Hello, hello. Hello, Stop Gaming 50, Hurts and Plots, John, hello, Blaze Kush, John Puft, another John Puft, Thrash 5, Ceramon, Titomi Shima. Who else do we have here? Out 9. Ceramon, Turn Breeze, Enigma, Santos, hello, hello, Rotten Chauncey, hello, hello, welcome, 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 SmileyBot 7, really glad to see you all today. So today is Sunday, and yeah, that means today, according to the schedule, we're doing a game development. Hello, Sasa, la 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 la, 69, hello, hello, Ronak Mehta. So, yeah. Today we're just going to continue developing a game that we've been developing for quite some time. Nothing special. It's written in C++. It's just a platformer, and yeah, today is gonna be a pretty chill stream, I suppose, because I'm kind of tired from this week. This week was kind of crazy in terms of like different stuff we did on stream, so I'm a little bit exhausted. So yeah, don't expect anything super crazy from me today. I'm gonna just be doing some chill software development, you know, as an opposite of a furious software development that I usually do on the streams. So today's one is going to be pretty chill. So you can find the source code here. Let's take a look at it, maybe. Let's take a look at it. So what do we got? What do we got? Anitrix Lab, hello. So here's something I also want to do. Team Ukes. README for this project is kind of sad, to be fair, but this is my fault, of course. Alrighty, so let's go to the programming, Zozin something, git. So what branch I'm on? I'm on the branch spike wave. I wonder if we actually merged it. I think it was merged, yeah. This is actually a pretty cool branch that we developed on the previous week, because we introduced at some point, I think several weeks ago, the stomp attack, right? And we also now have like a spike wave, which is actually pretty cool. Yeah, and it looks absolutely amazing, and you can actually direct the spike wave. It doesn't really deal any damage yet, right? So it's pretty like straightforward, like it just follows the straight line, and if you try to do something like this, as you can see, it just goes through the walls and stuff. It doesn't take into account the tiles and like stuff like that. So, but we're gonna improve it today. I think this is what we're gonna work today. We're gonna try to improve this spike wave, which is pretty cool. So the game actually like has a lot of different mechanics. You can just do pew 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 with different projectiles. You can also place the blocks, which are affected by different projectiles. For example, the ice blocks are not affected by water, but it's affected by fire, and you can effectively destroy with fire. You know, so the look and feel of the game is not final, it's just a placeholder for a lot of things. So yeah, today we're gonna just continue developing this entire stuff. Isn't it cool? I think it's quite cool. So let me check out the master and maybe fetch the other stuff. Alright, so I think my tea is ready. My tea is ready, and let's do a little bit of a TSMR. Alright, let's continue. Merge origin master. Cool. So the spike stuff was successfully merged. So let's remove the spike wave and let's rebuild everything from scratch. So I also want to rebuild the release just in case, to ensure that everything's okay before I dive into the game development, right? And do I have any issues related to spikes? Oh yeah, there is no variation between the spikes in the spike wave. This one is actually kind of important. You may probably notice that, right? That the spikes kind of look the same. Hello, Carrot91. They are kind of the same, and that's kind of boring, right? So it would be pretty cool for them to have some sort of a variation between different like kinds of spikes and stuff. And that will require extending the spike wave entity, right? We have a special entity for the spikes, for the spike wave, that manages which actually essentially over time issues, like spawns more and more spikes, if that makes any sense, right? So let's look at that, right? So here's a spike wave, and when you update it, it maintains some sort of a cooldown and just spawns the spikes and actually decreases the count of how many spikes it need to spawn. So basically what we can do, we need to extend this entity to also change the textures of the spikes it spawns. Right, it needs to change the texture of the spikes, and that's exactly what we're gonna do in the scope of this particular issue. That's a good question, Node9. Thank you for asking it. So yep. I think we're ready to start doing it. So another issue that we'll need to do, we need to implement the dealing damage, right? Because right now the spikes don't deal any damage. Right, so if there's some sort of a entity that is standing on the, like, right in front of you, let's actually spawn something like right there, and if I try to like attack it with the spike wave, right, the spike wave is not going to do anything to it, which is kind of lame. It would be even cooler if the spike wave would like actually throw the entity in the air like a little bit, just from the above. So we do have, as far as I can see, damage from the stomp itself, but it's a completely like different kind of damage, right? It's not the damage from the spikes themselves. So all right, let's see how we can variate them. To variate them, we need different textures. So right now we only have one kind of a texture for the spike waves, I think. So if we take a look at the assets, where is the spike? Yeah, here's the ice spike and the sprite crystal icy. Here it is. So there's only one thingy here. But what's interesting is that we took that from a pack of free sprites that had other sprites there as well. So maybe we can actually add, like, use all of the sprites from the pack there. And maybe it will look better. It look nicer if spikes didn't protrude completely but stay a little in the ground. Probably, and it probably depends on the sprite itself, right? It depends on the texture. So for this specific one, like this thing down below doesn't make it look good when it's completely, you know, above the ground. But maybe for some other sprites it's gonna look okay. It just depends. Maybe we can make it controllable. We'll see. Alright, so I need to remember where we got the spike thingy, and I also need to create a separate branch for this stuff. Need to also create a separate branch. So the sprite is gonna be the branch sprite. God damn it, I need my tea. Holy fuck. Hello, Daniel42. Hello. Oh. Alrighty. So I think for the variation I don't even have it to do. Yeah, I don't have it to do for variation. Yeah, I just created it without any particular to do. Hello, Master, by the way. Welcome. So I'm pretty sure the pack. Yeah, here is the pack. And I already removed the archive that I downloaded from the Open Game Art. Here it is. So we have different kinds of crystals with different colors, apparently. Yeah, and it's completely public domain, which, look at that. I don't even have to attribute the author, but I still put them in the credits because sometimes I want to go back and just steal more of their assets. There's something really weird with Chromium sometimes. It just, like, right click doesn't work properly. I don't know why. It is something really weird. Okay, so here it is. So here's the crystals. There's also sources of different kinds, and it's also a zip bomb, Alright, so that means I cannot just, you know, unzip this entire thing. I have to create a separate folder. And I wonder if unzip can create such folder for me. I don't quite remember, like output. So it's probably something like -o. Override existing, no, maybe it's minus big O. So out archive, yeah, that's what it is. It's out archive. So if I try to do something like crystals, right, and then I can try to unpack it, it will complain about something, it will tell me that it's unzip. And this is not how we do that. So maybe I can just try to do something like create directory or create folder. All right, let's Google that. Google unzip Linux unzip create output folder. How to create and extract zip files to specific directory in Linux. So zip are cool. It's -d. You have to do -d. Okay, that's really interesting. Unzip not -d. Oh my god. Optional directory to which to extract files. Okay, cool. So that means I should be able to do something like unzip crystals, crystals, and will it? Okay, beautiful. So I know how to deal with the zip bombs. The thing is that like I so rarely encounter these zip archives that don't have like a root folder that I don't even know how to deal with them. So I usually just end up like unzipping either like a single zip or a tar into the current folder without worrying about that. So yeah. Is everything okay? Everything looks okay. Okay. So here are the crystals, and let's take a look. So here's the PNG 32 by 32. And here is the crystal IC, and this is probably from where we took all of that, right? And as you can see, we have a bunch of them. It's kind of interesting. I think we took only the big one, right? Only the big one. We can try to take the second one, right? And there's also duplicates which are just smaller. Rootifant, thank you.
Welcome to our epic club.
Thank you so much for 7 months of tier 1 sub, and indeed welcome to our epic C++ club. Yes, welcome. Thank you. All right, so there's also some other stuff. So let's take a look at the crystal blue. Maybe we can just I can just do something like PCM manfm, which will show me all of them, and they're just okay. They're just the same two crystals, right? Resized and colored differently. Okay, so we don't have that many variations of the crystals. We only have 2 of them. Interesting. I guess, well, there's also a third one. I mean, it's this one, which is kind of, I'm not sure if it's usable, but we can try to use it. I wish there was like a blue variation of it. But yeah. So let me copy crystal IC, and to be fair, like maybe I can use it as a sprite sheet, right? I can probably use it as a sprite sheet. Yeah, but I need to know the size of it, right? I need to know the size of it, and sizes only make sense if you have some sort of an animation. So right now with our engine, it would be way easier to just, you know, cut out another one. Yeah, so it's kind of the problem. Yeah, it's kind of a problem because really we can, in our asset management, we can take the whole texture, but we cannot cut out a single sprite. We can only do that if you define an animation and you can cut it out within the animation. But if you don't have an animation, there's no really way to cut out a single sprite. So maybe this is something that I will want to implement at some point, maybe. But let me just copy this sprite into like something. It's going to be assets, and then it's going to be sprites, and crystal IC origin. It's going to be PNG. Let me ensure that we copied everything. All right. So I think I'm going to remove all of the crystals here. But how are we going to define all of that? How are we going to define all of that? That's a good question. Crystal, fair crystal IC origin PNG. Right. So to define a sprite that cuts out a piece of a texture, we probably can try to implement something similar to animations, where we're going to have a file that refers to a texture, right? It refers to a texture and also specifies the sizes that you have here. Or maybe we can just use an animation right away. Why not? If you think about it, let's define an animation. Right, let's define an animation, and basically for different sprites we're going to refer to different frames of that animation. It's not a bad idea. Basically, instead of implementing a proper mechanism in our engine, I'm going to hack my engine. Right, so I'm going to use the animation mechanisms not for animations, but actually for easily cutting out the sprites. Right. Professional software developer, what can I say? Cool. All right, how can we even do all of that? So oh my god, so it's gonna be something like assets, animats. I definitely need more tea. Holy fuck. Hello, here, sir. I don't know how to pronounce your nickname. Hello, welcome to our chill stream. Today is really a chill stream because I'm falling asleep. But yeah. So how do we define animations? Well, we can take a look at something like a fireball. Yeah, here's the fireball, right? So essentially in a fireball, we refer to a texture, right? We refer to a particular texture, and this is a projectile fire texture. And we say that we have 5 frames there, and then we specify all of these frames right here. So what's funny is that for some reason you can specify width and height of each of the frame, and I'm not even sure if that's a good idea. Like, I mean, if you have an animation, like each frame probably has to have the same size. So it's kind of strange, but maybe not. But we do have that. And essentially what I want to do here is have something like ice spikes, maybe. So ice spikes, and it's going to be just a txt. All right, ice spikes. And we'll need to refer to a particular texture. So, but we don't have that texture yet. We'll have to first define it somewhere. Right, so to define the texture, we'll have to go to the assets configuration, and here where we define all of the textures, right? So we have an ice spike, and I'm going to define ice spike sprite sheet, right? Sprite sheet, and it's going to be a texture, right? This is going to be a texture, and it's going to be located where? It's located in sprite here. So assets. Just gonna put it here. So there we go. Now we should be able to refer to this texture within the ice spike animation. So yeah, so this is how it works. Like this engine, it has this like configuration files, right? You have to add this texture to the config, and then you can refer to that texture in an animation, and you can define an animation, but with some stuff. Oh my god. Okay, so let's see if it loads up. So I'm gonna rebuild the game, right? I'm gonna rebuild the game, and so I'm gonna only build the debug version of the game. Putting on your code base is so complex that it's easier to do something hackish than proper. But what would be the proper way of doing that? It's a good question. What would be the proper? Introduce another kind of configuration. All right, so you have an animations here, right? And then if you want to cut out a single sprite, you would introduce something like ice spike, where you still refer to the original texture, right? Ice spike sprite sheet. And you just specify the position of the sprite, right? X and Y, and width and height, 69 420, right? Which is pretty much the animation itself, like it's pretty much the same. So in that case, a sprite is going to be an animation with a single frame. So it's not really about code base being messy or complex. It's rather about like a more of a like ergonomic design point of view. What is this particular single sprite? Is it just a one frame animation? Or sometimes you need several sprites from a single texture, but it's not an animation, but you can use an animation mechanism to cut them out. Do you need to have two different mechanisms that do the same thing and they call differently? Like, it's not about code base, seriously. Like, it's more of a philosophical question, right? So what's the proper solution? Just having two exactly the same things that just call differently? Just because one thing is not an animation but collection of sprites, but animation is a collection of sprites? You see what I mean? So, yeah. Maybe we can just not call it an animation, but I don't know. Maybe call them sprite frames. So it was not about calling something anything. I was actually complaining about different things. Anyway, so let's continue. Right, let's continue. We need to figure out their sizes, right? We need to figure out their sizes. So this is a Crystal Icy original. I'm gonna go to the Krita just to figure out their sizes. Right. And of course I'm gonna wait for half of an hour because it's Krita. Right. It's trying to imitate Photoshop in all of the possible aspects, including the load times. So, I mean, Photoshop is like, you know, the world standard, but I don't think you need to imitate it to this extent. You know what I mean? Okay, so, oh shit, and we don't even know the size of it because the Krita won't tell me the size of the selection. Like, it's literally, I think, impossible to know the size of the selection, or is it? Yeah, it's impossible to know the size of the selection, even if you do it like that. Right, does anyone know how to know the width of the selection and height of the selection? That would be actually kind of cool. If I could just do that without, you know, counting the pixel myself. Krita and resolve problem in computer science. Like, exactly, holy shit. Some things are so difficult, some simple things are so difficult to do with the modern software, it's just insane. Size of selection. Crop it, then it might even say, but I don't need to crop it. Holy fuck. I don't want to crop it, like, that's exactly the point. I want to measure it, like, I don't want to crop it. Rectangular selection tool. Size. If you want your size to be specific size... Okay. If you want your selection to be specific size, type the width and height. Where do I type it? Okay, so there's this thing. Tool options. I think I know what they're talking about. Oh, holy shit, you can actually look at here. Who would have thought? Did you know that you have to like click on this obscure tab just to know the size of the selection? Did you know that? Did you fucking know that? It was so obvious, holy shit. Alright, yeah. Amazing, like, it's absolutely amazing. So, we have width and height. Excuse me. now my productivity as a game developer just increased magnitudes, fucking magnitudes. Since I learned how to look up the size of the selection, I can be so productive in game development. It's insane. Holy fuck. I don't even have to go into college to learn about game development, if you know this simple trick. Okay, so we're gonna have like X. I forgot how you do these things. I forgot how we do these things. So we're gonna have a count. We're gonna have 2 of these things. Cool. So duration doesn't really matter. I'm gonna put it to 0, and we're gonna have a frames 0x 0, and it's essentially 64. Like the width is 64, and height is gonna be 128. So this is gonna be okay. So, and I'm gonna assume that the width of this crystal, right? The width of this crystal is the same, right? So the only difference in this particular case is gonna be just something like this, right? This is actually not X, it has to be Y, right? It has to be Y. So Y is gonna stay the same, but X is gonna become 64. Cool. So now I defined 2 frames from one texture, and maybe if I'm lucky enough, I will be able to even refer to these frames from my code base. But before I can refer to these frames from my code base, I need to add this animation back to the assets, right? Back to the assets. So it's kind of interesting. You add texture to the assets, so you can refer to that texture from an animation, and to use that animation you have to add it back, so it goes like the full circle, if you know what I mean. So here's the bunch of animations and ice spikes. Let's call it sprite sheet, maybe. It's already taken. Animate. Let's call it animate. So and it's gonna be just an animate, right? And it's gonna be assets, animates, and I'm gonna put this thing here, and let's try to recompile this entire thing. Right, let's try to recompile it. Right, and let's just try to see if it loads up. If it loads up correctly, if I didn't make any mistakes, because if I did make any mistakes, it won't load up. But it loaded up successfully without any problems. So that means the syntax is correct at least, and we're referring to the right things. So if we take a look at how do we issue the spikes. Okay, here are the spikes. Right, when we are creating the spike, right, let me find spike. So where is the constructor of the spike? This is the constructor. But the Zosian, you define constructors in C++ differently. You define them like spike. But yeah, I don't program in C++, I program in C/C++. Ahaha, got him. Anyway, so instead of like texture index here, and we can't even use texture index. Fuck, that's the problem. It has to be a texture index. It has to be a texture index, and we only have specific frames there. So we do need to cut it out at some point. You see, I didn't expect that spike accepts the texture index. I thought it will accept something else. So that means I literally have to cut them out. But what would be the proper solution? I don't know. Sprite? Really introduce a sprite? And make an animation a collection of sprites? So that you can make animations that contain frames from different textures? That's a very interesting idea, right? So because the usual assumption is that you make an animation from a single sprite sheet, but what if you make an animation from several different sprite sheets? So essentially, if you think about it, let's not think about it, it's too far away. Okay, so let's again think about it. Right. So here it is. So we're gonna have like a more sophisticated structure of the resources, I suppose. What's up, mcourse69? Hello, hello. Right. Okay. So, but it feels like it's gonna complicate things. But I don't know. So we have textures, right? Textures. I don't know how to spell. So here are our little textures, right? So here they are. Then you have what? You have sprites. Sprites, right? Textures, yeah, textures do have the size, but sprites, they may refer to specific textures, right? So, and what's interesting is that many sprites may refer to a single texture in case this texture is a sprite sheet, right? In case the texture is a sprite sheet, right? Something like that. So, and then we're gonna have animations. Animate. God, how do you fucking write things? Boom, boom, boom. And single animation may refer to several sprites. It is referring to several sprites, and it can actually reuse the same sprites like this. Which means, like, a single animation may refer to several textures simultaneously. Which is an interesting approach, not gonna lie. It's kind of an interesting approach. So maybe we should implement it. And maybe we should implement it so we have like this, like several layers. And within the game, you can refer to any of these resources as needed, right? The exclamation mark in the title crooked. Excuse me? What are you talking about? What? Maybe it's something with Twitch, I don't know. Sorry. Not my fault. Not my fault. I did my best. Oh, it's on your end, okay. So, yeah, so maybe this is what we need to implement here. What do you guys think? I feel like you wouldn't intentionally put these sprites for an animation onto separate textures. But maybe I wouldn't do that because I cannot do that. Have you thought about that? And hello, Listener. Hello. And hello, Nitrix Live. Welcome to the stream. Subjectify, yeah, it's actually kind of looks like something from a discrete math lecture. That's what it looks like. Because I remember when we had like a course on discrete math, like our teacher actually draws something like this. I do remember that. So I just thinking, do I need to implement that? Do I need to implement that? It just will complicate. It may complicate. Or maybe we can actually not make animations dependent on the sprites per se, right? So maybe sprites and animats are gonna be on the same like level, right? They're gonna be on the same level of abstraction, right? So you can refer to the animats and you can separately refer to the sprites. Yeah. So I guess I am introducing two sort of mechanisms. Yes, I guess I am doing that. All right, let's introduce the sprites to our assets. Let's introduce sprites to our assets. Are you guys ready? Are you guys ready for a new kind of asset? Hello, Tsozing. I love you. Thank you. I love you too. For teaching me has. Ah, okay. Forever in your debt. Yes, give me money. I'm joking. Welcome to our stream. I'm joking. You don't owe me anything. All right. So let's think what we can do here. We need to introduce the sprite stuff. How are we gonna do all of this? So I think I'm gonna just go ahead and clean up all of this shite. And maybe some other shite. So we do have the assets assets actually gave money. You didn't have to. I'm just joking. Thank you so much, Green Miek, for subscribing with tier 1 subscription. Thank you, and welcome to our epic debt club. Yes. We all are here in debt. Thank you so much. Thank you. You didn't have to, but I really appreciate it. Yeah. Well, now you have pretty cool emotes, I suppose. You have a PHP emote. Does it worth $5? I think PHP emote worth $5. It's a pretty good investment in my opinion. So you shaved because you're a debt collector now. Yes, Valentin, that's exactly the reason. All right. So let's go. Let's find the assets CPP, or maybe CPP. There we go. Assets HPP. So, and we have a bunch of stuff here, right? So we have textures, sounds, frame. I remember this shit. Oh my god, this is such a scuffed stuff. I remember this. I remember this because we have an entity called frames, right? And what is the multiple frames? It's frames of frames. It's framesim. I remember this one. It was really funny. So, but also we need indices and stuff. So we have frames index, frame animate index, sample index, structure index, projectile index, entity index. And I need to introduce another one. And this is going to be the sprite index, right? This is what we're gonna have. It's gonna be a sprite index. Sprite index. There we go. So that's what it is. And essentially, like, index is just a number, right, of that resource in the array of the resources, right? So, and I have them as separate types for a better type safety. Hello Gaylolo, hello Belgianul, Cozy White Bear, welcome, Pango, Ray26, hello everyone who just joined, really glad to see you all today. So we're just doing a little bit of a Z++ game development. And keep in mind that I'm not a game developer, so I have no idea what I'm doing. Hello Panzolo9069. Okay, so assets is gonna be HPP. And framesin is a plural of frames. And frames is the plural of frames, yes. I remember this shit, holy fuck, it's so dumb. Alright, so sprite count. So then we're gonna have an asset of a sprite, and I think we do have this entity here, so it's gonna be sprites, assets, sprites capacity. So we're gonna have like a fixed capacity of these things. A fixed capacity of these things. So let's actually define. Refresh your page, chat. Refresh your page. Refresh your page. Refresh your page, chat. We're up and running. That's right. Twitch glitching. Yeah, Twitch is actually really weird recently. I don't understand what exactly is going on with them. But yeah. Let's continue. Let's continue, I suppose. So we defined these sprites and stuff. The next thing we need to do, we need to get frames. So we have a specific ID, which is the name. Yeah, so we need to do the following thing. Get frames, not really frames, but get sprite by ID. So essentially you would be able to get the sprite by its name in the asset config. So yeah, So assets conf. Yeah, so this is what I'm trying to find. Because in the asset configuration, we're defining the name of the asset, the type of the asset, and its location, right, in the file system. So with using this function, you can actually query it by its name if you have the string with its name. So this is how it's gonna work. Like, you rarely need that, but if you need that, you can do that. Specifically, you may need that for introspection, right? For example, if you want to be able to control some assets from the console. Sometimes chat doesn't connect, WebDev. Yeah, I don't know what you mean, Belgian, but I guess sometimes it doesn't. Okay, so we're also going to have a sprite index. So once you have a sprite index, you will be able to get the sprite by the by the index. So, and get sprite by index. We provide the sprite index. To be fair, since it's actually kind of interesting if you think about it. So, do we really need to do all of that? Do we really need to do all of that? Because what if we defined index as something like this? So for example, index for entities. What if we define something like this? Index for entities. And what's funny is that we never use the type of the index here anyway. Well, yeah. It's kind of interesting. I think C++ should allow that, like, without any problems. Right, CPP. So this way you can actually have a pretty reusable code without any hassle. In the UK stream, I see the chat message show up on the stream before they show up in the chat. Oh, that's that's really interesting. The fuck? Okay. Hello everyone who just joined. Here's an interesting actually thing. You can have an index and you can have the type to which the index is pointing to, right? And you can also just define all of these separations, like you store the actual value of the index, right? And in here, instead of that, we're using index with T. There we go. And there you go. So this way, if you're referring to a particular type, for example, index of integers, you can just use it like that. And it's going to be a completely different type from index of, let's say, const char or string view. Right, you don't even need to define these separate types at all, because the index already by itself, like if you parameterize it with a different type, it's going to be a completely different type. Unless there's some sort of like a covariancy, contravariancy situation in C++, I don't think there is. Is there? But maybe it's kind of interesting. So yeah, and essentially, why is it important? So if you have some sort of an array, a global array of these things, 256. Yeah, I also don't think there is. And you can have something like int get x by index, where you accept the index of integers, and here is your index, and essentially what you're doing here is return access index and wrap, right? And you have this index somewhere here, which is like I, and you define it as 69, and you try to print this entire stuff as that, so you get x by index I, right? And that should just work. That should just work. Let me try to compile that with a C++ compiler, and it does in fact compile. That's actually amazing. So, and yeah, if you had something like long, I think it won't work. Yeah, cannot convert I from index long int to index int. So you don't need to duplicate all of these types. You can just have a one single index type, and that way I can get rid of the inheritance. It's just going to be like, you know, index of entities, right? It's an entity index, and it's pretty much the same amount of character. It's actually one character more, because, yeah, it's one character more because it's like underscore plus the closing one, but I can get rid of all of these definitions and not think about that forever. You forget a semicolon. It doesn't matter. I'm programming in a real programming language with a static type system. It doesn't matter. So I'm not programming in some sort of JavaScript, right? So in a static type compiled language, the compiler will tell me that I forgot a semicolon, okay? So I don't have to worry about that. Automation, how about that? All right, so yeah, I think it's a pretty cool idea. So that means the only thing I need to do here is just to get rid of all of that. But Zozin, you typed in and not int. Now you're going to get undefined as not a function. Imagine your C++ program crashing with undefined is not a function. Semicolon is optional in JS, no. How does that even has anything to do with what I said? Alright. Swear to God, you people. Okay, so instead of instead of shit ton of different indices like that, I'm going to have like a single index. But now look what's gonna happen. Look what's gonna happen. I'm going to have shit ton of compilation errors because yeah, because I removed all these types. There we go. Look at those compilation errors. Look at all of those compilation errors. Isn't that amazing, chat? Isn't that amazing? I think it's goddamn amazing. Holy fuck. I absolutely love all of these compilation errors. But essentially, what I need to do, I need to replace this with index texture, right? I'm pretty sure you can come up with a regular expression that will help me to do that. Something like, you know, let's just capture, I want to actually comment it out, otherwise Emacs is not going to shut up, underscore index, right? And we want to replace it with index like this. Should be pretty straightforward. I love errors. It means that there is work to do. Exactly. Everyone loves errors. Anyways. Imagine if there were no errors, we wouldn't have any job and we would starve to death. Okay, so let's take a look at this thing. I'm gonna query replace this stuff. It's gonna be... but maybe I shouldn't do it like that. So it's gonna be a z underscore index, right? And what I want to replace it with, I want to replace it with index like this. Is it gonna work? I think it worked. And we cannot even see the result of all of that. Yeah, there we go. It did in fact work. Look at that. Oh my god, it fucking works, mate. Gut cooter. There we go. So who needs IDEs if you have Emacs and regular expression? Anyway, so let's continue replacing things. And something didn't work. Frames animate. Okay, so that's cool. That's cool. Couldn't say it with a straight face. Yeah, I know. Hello, Zombie Joe. Yeah. I quit ED without saving. How could you do that? I think it won't allow you to do that. Would it? Look. Right, so then I commit these changes, here are the changes, and I try to quit. I try to quit one. Oh, you can. It actually allows you to do that if you do queues 2 times. Okay, sure. Cool editor, thank you very much. A very cool editor. Kevin Joberg, I hope I pronounced your nickname correctly, or
Kebaba.
name, rather. Kebab? I haven't had a kebab for quite some time, so yeah. Thank you so much for 3 months of a tier 1 subscription. Thank you, and welcome to our epic index club. So because we're replacing just names of the indices and stuff like that, that's why it's an index club. Okay. Yeah, look at all of those errors. So do I build everything? Yeah, I should actually only build the debug, because building release is kind of painful. And let's take a look at this stuff. It complains about we don't have a texture. Texture was not declared. Fuck. You need to know the type. Okay. You need to know the type of texture. And where can you define the texture? Okay, so if we have, so in the assets, right, in the assets, we have texture defined. Yeah, I see. So what I'm thinking is that we need to move the texture closer to the sprite. So now we have a sprite, texture, texture sprite, and also a single frame, frames, which are a collection of sprites. Oh, that's actually cool. Now we have everything in one place, like textures, sprites, and frames that are a collection of sprites, and frame animat, which refers to the frames. And the reason why it has another layer of indirection is because it can be replaced at runtime. Okay, I think it's starting to take some sort of a shape, and I think it's kind of cool. Is it gonna work? Okay, look at that. So now we have a little bit of a challenge. We need to apply our regular expression that does the index, but in the name of the type for an index, now we have an underscore, and we didn't account for that. What are we gonna do now, chat? Are we gonna give up and quit the game development industry? Is that what we're gonna do? And where is the music? Why is it not playing? Yes. That's a good response. Yes. So this is exactly what we're gonna do. No, we're not gonna quit game development industry. We're gonna go ahead and modify our regular expression and add that underscore into the regular expression. Look at that. Look how easy it is. My tea is boiling, by the way, for some reason, but who cares? Anyway, so if I try to apply that now, it doesn't work. Amazing. Why the fuck it didn't work? Okay, so I have this stuff and underscore and index, and it just didn't find any. Oh, you know what else we didn't account for? Numbers. Now this getting complicated. Now we have characters, underscores, and numbers. I'm pretty sure, like in Emacs, there was like a special like word thingy. Programming would be easy without numbers, exactly. If we try to do something like this, now look at that. Bam, bam, first try. How about that? I wonder if you can actually simplify that, like, unironically. I remember, like, Emacs defines things like word, right? It defines something like word. Let's actually go back. And I think word takes all of that into account. Word. Okay. So it kind of worked, but it doesn't include everything we wanted. Right, so we include word, and we also need to put underscore. Now it works. Okay, so we can actually simplify that by adding word and everything else. And to be fair, I'm not even sure if it's gonna be shorter than, you know, just using like something like A, Z, A, Z, A, Z. Yeah, it is shorter. It is like one character shorter. God damn it. What's the point of having this shortcut? If it's, well, it is easier to type. Okay, so at least you can remember that and memorize it. But okay, whatever. Jay the developer, what's up? Did I roll into a Hitman stream? Oh, by the way, at this point, we can actually easily detect people who haven't watched my stream for a long time, because I've been like that for more than a month, I think. So, yeah. Essentially, by saying anything about my hair at this point, you essentially exposing yourself, because it's been quite a while, not gonna lie. It's like it's a long time ago, come on. So, yeah. The haircut is a debate. Aha. Are you using i3 or BSPWM? I'm using Windows Explorer. Okay, so the next thing we need to do maybe index texture. I only know bold sodding. Well, I had a pretty long hair long time ago. Not really long time ago, like a month ago. All right. So yeah, look at that. More templates, more layers of templates. They make me feel good, right? They make me feel like my code is actually serious and doing something important. When in reality, it's not. It's garbage. But yeah. Okay. What's interesting is that like you have sprite by index, and since we're using C++, I don't even have to add the name of the thing here, but I'm still doing that. All right, let's continue. So here is another thing, and we don't have a sprite here. Oh, I forgot a semicolon. I see. Look, chat. Compiler just told me that I forgot a semicolon. Semicolon. So I don't need to, you know, think about that. Isn't it cool? I think it's pretty cool. I think it's freaking amazing. So what I need to do now, chat, I just need to go through all of these compilation errors and fix them. So we just need to fix them. Oh, this one is interesting. So now we have a compilation errors in the generated code. Yes, so we also do a little bit of a code generation. So where do we do that? It's gonna be assets typer. I think this is where we do all of that. So now we have texture index, blah, blah, blah. So if I query replace this entire stuff like this, it's going to fix everything. Okay. Okay, so we don't... So projectile doesn't know about entity. What's interesting is that I can always sort of like forward declare this entity, because the type of this entity doesn't affect the size of this thing, because it's getting thrown away. Yep, I was right. Cool. So we also have the brains that accept index entities and stuff like that. So here's another thing. You see how easy it is to just refactor things? You just go through all of that, and it's pretty straightforward. Not gonna lie. Chat, does anyone have any questions while we're doing all of this? Maybe you want to ask me about something, maybe about game development? I don't know. I'm not a game developer though, but maybe you want to ask something. So projectile at position, and we don't even use this code, but maybe at some point we will. Do you enjoy C++? Be honest. No, I won't be honest. I think the question is incorrect. I don't care about the languages. It's not about the languages. Have you done any 3D game development? A long time ago, and it was not even... It was actually completely CPU rendering. But yeah. When we'll continue CM app? You can continue it at any point, it's open source. But I personally will continue it whenever I feel like it. What is your experience with CPP? So far, I know how to replace things within C++ source code. Okay. That's a lot of places that needs to be updated. But hopefully... Does anyone have any other questions? Feel free to ask me anything, seriously. Do you also work as a developer? Yeah, I guess I can say so. And look at that. We replaced everything. And it still works and compiles. Well, it definitely compiles, but I'm not sure if it still works. We're about to find out. We're about to divide. Hi, I work in mining as a heavy machine operator. I have recently found an interest in software development. I wonder why. But I'd like a career in it after studying it for a while, but I don't want a huge pay cut as I have a family now. Yeah. Suddenly, in 2020, everyone found a passion in software development. Oh my god, I wonder why. Right, I want to make a cup of tea. So I also need to clean up some stuff. What do you recommend me doing? I don't know. To be fair, this industry is shit. I would not recommend you to go into it. So, because I personally left software in the development industry a long time ago, and asking me like career advices in this industry is kind of pointless because I'm not in an industry. I'm sorry. So I don't really answer any career advices regarding software development. If you have any questions about algorithms, data structure, software development, like generally, not career questions, right? Because I don't care about career, I left the industry a long time ago. But something about like specifics of software development and programming, I would gladly participate in that conversation. But career, like, I don't give a shit. Do I look like somebody who gives a shit? Seriously. I don't know how to make this step from knowing all these basics of language to actually coding real things. Well, it's actually super easy. Just don't code real things. Code some stupid imaginary things then. Maybe it's gonna be your thing. Seriously. It could be your thing, like coding something that is absolutely useless. Like, look at me. I do exactly that. I just code absolutely useless things that nobody's gonna use, and yeah, it's kind of fun. It's my thing now, so I don't see anything wrong with that. So, and if you can make it your thing, you don't even have to think about how to move on and start doing real things, because you don't need to make real things. So, see, problem solved. Super easy. All right, so let's actually check if this thing still works. You can still do pew pew pew. You can still do a boom, a bow, a bow. So we didn't break anything. We renamed shit ton of things and we didn't break anything. I'm super happy about that. This is actually amazing. This is actually amazing. And yeah, I think we're ready to do a committee. I'm not gonna update this stuff. But yeah, I don't know why I never realized that I don't need like inheritance for this synthesis. I can just like use templates. So let's go. Cool. 3. I'm gonna put like this 342. How to say that? Remove redundant index aliases. That's essentially what we did here, and I'm gonna push that right into the repo. What's up, Lazy Grid, by the way? Hello, welcome to the stream. Welcome, welcome, welcome. How are you doing? How are you doing, buddy? Okay. Hello. So in assets, right? In assets, HPP. I want to kind of overload these functions: get texture by ID, get sound by index, and so on and so forth, and just call them get by index without referring to any specific names, because in C++ you can overload methods, so it doesn't really matter. You can overload them by arguments, but I think in C++ you cannot overload by results. It would be neat if the spikes would stick to the ground. I'm not sure what you mean by stick. You mean follow the curve, so not go. Okay, I think I know what you mean. Like actually follow the curve here. We have an issue for that actually. So I created an issue for that right after I implemented the spikes mechanism. So because that was in intent, and the only reason why I didn't implement that right after I introduced this mechanism is because it will increase the scope of the issue. So I decided to move it to separate one. But I do plan to do it like that. So it's going to be very interesting. We'll have to have an access to the tile grid, and we'll have to follow the tile grid. So we're going to have like a interesting algorithm that figures out where to place the spikes, and it's going to be interesting. But first we need to do a little bit of a refactoring. All right, a little bit of a refactoring. So again, I want to maybe rearrange some of these things. And do I understand correctly that you cannot overload by the return type? I think you cannot overload by return type, and this is kind of sad, but it is what it is. All right. So, but I can overload by argument. Yes, you cannot overload by return type. Thank you for. I do believe you, because you probably, well, not probably, you definitely know C++ better than me. So, I do believe you, Forth. And by the way, hello, welcome to the stream. So we're gonna be overloading only these things, and yep, something like this. So you just get by index, and you have an index, and yeah, types do the rest of this stuff. So is it worth doing something? Okay, I forgot that I need to actually go to the kitchen and turn on the kettle, because I need some hot water for my tea. So that means I will leave this room for like 30 seconds, right? For 30 seconds. While I'm in the kitchen, don't go anywhere, or I'll come to your house and refactor all of your code, and I'm gonna rename all of your variables. Okay, so let's go. Hello, I'm back. Mods, ban everyone who left. Permanent. All right, I didn't move. Good. Don't refactor my code. It's too late. I already refactored it while being in the kitchen. So let's see if we can refactor this thing. So now we have a get texture by index and so on and so forth. So what I'm thinking is we need to craft yet another regular expression which captures whatever the hell we have here, I guess something like this, right? Something like this. And here we are usually gonna have like a word underscore, and we don't even need to replace anything. We just need to remove this part simply. So it's gonna be query replace that with get by index, and we should be Gucci. And it doesn't work. Nice, I really like that. Because you're supposed to have several of those things. Cool, boom. And as you can see, it worked. Boom, boom, nice. So now it's as simple as that. Assets get by index, and you have some sort of an index, and depending on the type of that index, you're gonna get a different type of assets. So we are utilizing the, the features of C++. We're actually programming in C++. This is something that is impossible to achieve in C. People constantly complain that I'm programming in C, but I'm using features that you cannot find in C. I'm programming in C++. All right. Let's continue, chat. Sound by index, cool. All right, chat, tell me, how was your day? Is everything okay? Are you guys still working from home? Today's Sunday, by the way, so I suppose nobody's working today, but yeah. I cry. Same. I cry every day after the stream. C with pinch of plus plus. Are you Russian? Yes. And that's why I cry every day. Because it's pretty sad. It's 11 a.m. here. Okay. Last day of holidays, really? I think in Russia we're gonna have holidays until like January 10th. Yes, I think. Oh shit, it's actually worked. So we renamed everything accordingly. Nice. Yeah, so now you just do like get by index, assets get by index, and you have an index, and there you go. You're good to go. Shazovaku-sama, what's up? How are you doing, Shazovak? Is everything okay? Welcome to the stream. All right, let's do a committee. 3, 4, 2. Let's call it assets get by index. Overload assets get by index, and let's push that right into the repo. Okay, so do I plan to overload anything else? I don't kind of plan to overload anything else. So get texture by index. We could do something like get by ID, and we can try to make it a templated thing, so you would actually pass the type. It actually sounds very interesting. Huh. Yeah, it could be a templated thing. So essentially it's going to be a template, type name T, right, and you return maybe index, not tar, but T, and you get by ID, right, and you get string view ID. And essentially what you're going to do here, you would instantiate some of these methods, template like this. Am I abusing C++, chat? Am I abusing it? I feel like I'm abusing it a little bit. So it's going to be texture, get by ID. Don't abuse it. Please don't report me. Okay. So something like that, and then you're gonna have like 4 of this method. To be fair, I was just writing more, and you will still have to write that type in here. It's just more typing. Yeah, overall it's just more typing. I don't think it's worth it. Does anyone even use these methods? I do kind of plan to use them for consoles and stuff. Huh. Oh yeah, we do use them for, yeah. Yeah, we do use them when loading and stuff, so it's actually quite important. All right, so my water is ready, so I'm gonna go to the kitchen again, right? Because I need to pour some hot water for my tea. Don't go anywhere, or I will replace all of your spaces with taps. Okay? Don't go anywhere. Oh, by the way, speaking of this joke that I made about don't report me for abusing C++, this reminded me who watched the first stream of Forcing after him being unbanned, right? It was fucking hilarious. He was actually explaining like what's going on and his hypothesis on what's going on behind the scene and stuff like that. And one thing he said is that he spoke with some of the moderators of Twitch, right? And they told him that his channel was annoying because of very old meme, right? When people when people say in the chat like, "Sorry, Forcing, I have to report you." Which sounds like a innocent joke, but in reality, like new people who come to his stream, they would see that people spamming this joke, and they would genuinely think, "Oh, this dude did something wrong," and they would go ahead and fucking actually report him. And then the moderators will go through these reports and then look what's happened, and they will see that it's just a meme. And because of that, they didn't like forcing. so it's kind of a joke. But at the end of the day, there are some people who would actually think that it's actually real. Sorry, so they have to report. God damn it. Anyway. Very funny. Thank you. Thank you so much. Feels like Phil Force in chat now, yeah. Okay, so what I was doing, I forgot what I was doing, chat. I was refactoring some useless shit. So we get a sprite and yeah. Now we need to implement all of these methods. Right. Now we need to implement all of them. I'm gonna go to the assets. I'm gonna go to the assets and we're gonna do get frames by ID, right? It's gonna be assets, get frames. Let's actually get sprite by ID. Right. So, and essentially what we're gonna be doing here, we're gonna be iterating through list of the sprites, right? We're gonna be iterating through list of the sprites. And if we found a sprite with a specific ID, we're going to be returning it. Right, you may say that this is a very slow algorithm because it's linear, and yes, I would agree with you. But here's the thing, this operation is not a normal way of requesting a sprite, right? So we don't usually request a sprite by its string ID. By its string ID, like it's not like we do that. We usually request a sprite by its index. Usually the components, the entities, they know the index of the asset and they can quickly in O of 1 query that resource and just do something with it. These kind of functions are reserved when you know the ID, like the string name of the assets, when you, for example, loading the configurations or you're doing some sort of like introspection of the assets in the console. So it's not used that often. Which area in computer games tend to have the most number of bugs like game physics or store, etc.? I have no idea. I'm not a part of game development industry, so as a matter of fact, I never worked in game development industry, so sorry, not game developer. So I would recommend ask somebody who actually works there. I'm just some dude doing some stupid shit on Twitch. So I think my tea is ready, chat. Can you believe that? It is actually unbelievable. My tea is ready. Just a second. I need to prepare everything. Zozin, should I report you for harassing or bullying C++? Threatening to replace type with spaces, physical harm, or committed act of typos missing semicolon? Make separate reports for each point. Thank you. All right. Imagine me being banned on the next day. Like actually. Many plans on keep going on this pointless game? Thank you for this question. That's a great way to actually make me ignore your questions. All right, so let's continue. So we're gonna be iterating through this stuff. It's gonna sprite count. If sprites I, so it has to be ID, right? Equal to this ID. We're gonna just return this sprite right away. Otherwise, we're gonna return nothing. I like how easy it is to just create these objects in C++. It's kind of cool. I need an intersection of C and C++. I want a language that has best parts of C and best parts of C++. Which doesn't really make any sense, but yeah. C++ is cool, but you know what's even cooler? Your mom! I'm sorry. Yeah, we need C++. Yeah, your mom was cool, that's what I was trying to say. Is it worth reading structure and interpretation of computer programs? And learning Lisp even if I don't use it for anything? I never read structure and interpretation of computer programs, but I learned Lisp, and learning Lisp was actually beneficial for what I do. So I can only confirm learning Lisp, but speaking of SICP, I don't know, you should just give it a try. I actually said that multiple times. I tried to read SICP several times, but it felt like a book for children, so I couldn't continue it. So yeah. Zozin, make useful thing. I've never made a single useful thing on this channel. What are you guys talking about? All of my projects are literally shitposting. Okay, so now here's a sprite, and let's do the following thing. It's gonna be sprite assets get by ID, and we're gonna be actually, it's not ID but by index, right? By index, and the index is gonna be sprite index, right? I'm gonna return sprites index unwrap. And we're gonna unwrap all of that. There we go. Several layers of unwrapping. Learning Lisp for the ability to count braces in your sleep. To be fair, I programmed a lot of shit in Lisp and I've never had any problems with counting parentheses or any shit like that. Have you heard about such thing as paredit? Yeah. So there we go. Just learn how to use paredit and forget about any troubles you ever had with Lisp. Seriously. Can I get it for VS Code? Maybe. Do you have paredit? Paredit VS Code. Strict paredit Microsoft Studio Marketplace. Okay. Have you tried any of these things? Structured negation. So yeah, paredit, like the concept of paredit is actually so popular, it's implemented for pretty much any editor. It's not like specifically Emacs thing. I think Emacs only started the idea and then other editors picked it up afterwards. So yeah, and usually in other editors it's also called paredit. Yeah. So for those who doesn't know, Parodied enables you to edit Lisp code on the level of AST rather than on the level of text, if that makes sense. You still can do like text operations, but it introduces easy operations of like merging the trees, splitting the trees, expanding and shrinking the trees, so you can basically shape your like Lisp expressions on the level of AST rather than on the level of a text, so you don't have to even think about parentheses, if that makes any sense. And the level of structures rather than individual characters. Yes, exactly. So, and people who complain about parentheses in Lisp are usually people who never even programmed in Lisp and never even researched what kind of tools people use to program in Lisp. Right. So people who actually did anything remotely serious in Lisp, they just know how to deal with that and they know these tools. Yeah. Anyway. Let's continue. Okay. I have too many parents. Yeah, it's kind of meh. It's kind of weak argument. That's what I would say. It's not really like well-informed arguments. Alright. So what do we have here? So we now have special functions for getting by indices. And now we need to be able to load sprite files. That's right, we need to be able to load sprite files. Yeah, so asset config, right? So let's go to the config, and here we'll have to introduce some new thing. So here's the asset sprite sheet, and I want to introduce like asset ice spike sprite, and it's going to be 1. So this is the first sprite, and it's going to be literally a sprite, right? We don't know its location. I'm going to actually define its location a little bit later. So undefined, or maybe I'm going to put it to do here, and then I'm going to have a second one. So, and interesting enough, and we're gonna have ice spike sprite sheet texture. Let's go with like just texture. I think it's gonna be okay. So, and within all of these sprites, we're going to have the definitions. Oh my god, assets, sprites. So here is the sprites. So I see origin, cool. Ice spike 1 txt. So it's going to have a texture, right? And what kind of texture is going to have? It's going to have a texture, ice spike texture. And the rest of the stuff we're going to have here is going to be x0, y0, width is going to be 64, and height is going to be 128. I just remember all of these things. And there you go, here's the sprite. Here is our sprite. So the next thing we need to do, we just need to parse this file somehow. And if we want to create like another ice spike, we can just copy paste this entire thing. Ice spike 2 txt, and the second ice spike is going to be pretty much the same size but located slightly differently. There we go. So that's pretty cool. So now if I try to, yeah, I need to go to assets conf and just find the location of these things here. So assets sprites, ice spike 1 txt. So this is the first spike. Then we're gonna have a second spike. There we go. So we have 2 sprites now. And if we try to compile all of that, and if we try to run all of that, it's not gonna properly compile because we have a known type of asset sprite. How about that? Yeah, so we have a special program that takes the config and generates the code, so you can have access to all of these assets. So, and it doesn't recognize the type of the asset. So it's called asset typer, right? And that's essentially what it does. It looks through all of the types of the assets, and it does not see the sprite. So here is the sprite. So now for the sprite, what we need to generate here? That naming consistency. I wish I knew what exactly you're talking about. So, all right. So what we need to do here, we need to first generate an index and then generate the actual name, because you can refer to the asset by its value, or you can refer it by its index, assets files. Cool. The game is open source. Feel free to fix it. What's up, Asibud? Welcome to the stream. Okay, so what else do we have here? We have texture counts. We also need to keep counting sprite count. Sprites count. Sprites count. So I'm literally generating C++ code, by the way. Well, you can say it's C code, but yeah, it's actually C++. So the ID, so this is the ID, and do we even use count? Yeah, we do use count. So we need to generate the index, right? We need to generate an index, but do we need to have it like that? I think we do need to have it like that. So here's the index, and it's going to be index sprite like this, and sprites count closed. Cool. Nice, we generated an index, and next thing we need to generate an actual value. So it's going to be define ID, and it doesn't have any prefixes, so we're going to do assets. Do we really need to do it like that? Yeah, we do need to do it like that. So because since you can always like get it by an index, you can always just in the code do assets get by ID and just use it directly. Do we really need the second one? Because it feels kind of redundant, not gonna lie. But that may require another round of refactoring. Alright, so here's the textures, here's the frames, and then we have sprites. Hello, Programador Binario. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Are you from Brazil? Anyways, so sprites, and it's gonna be sprites count. And wrap. We have a lot of people from Brazil here. Do you plan to upload your AOC streams on YouTube? They're already on the stream, on YouTube. So check out this VODs channel. So the AOC 2020 is already there. Just go to the playlist, and there's another playlist that I created recently for AOC 2019. So there's only one stream there because I only streamed once 2019. The next 2019 AOC stream is going to be on the next week Thursday. So we're going to do that on Thursdays. So it's all available here. And furthermore, if you check out the repos, the source code repos, there are links to the screencasts in the repo itself. So here we go. So here's AOC 2020. You can click on any of this, right? And here's the link to the screencast, where basically recording of the stream where we solved all of that. So it's all available on YouTube. So yeah. You sound Eastern European. Cool. I'm actually not European, I'm Asian. What is your general opinion about AOC problem? They're fun, I suppose. I was born in the Asian part of Eurasia and lived my entire life in the Asian part of Eurasia, which I think makes me Asian. I'm not a European. Ah, funny. Guess what's the country I'm from? Switch statement would have been nicer, I think. Sure, feel free to make a pull request and change it to a switch statement. D2 game, I don't know what is a D2. Russians are Asians. Well, they have Asians. Essentially. They have Europeans and they have Asians because they take huge part of Eurasia. And guess what's the origin of the name of Eurasia? Anyway. Geography is hard, I know. It's really hard. Yep, I think it works. I think this thing works. So it does compile. We can even take a look at the code that was generated by this thing. So we have asset types, and we do have sprites in here, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, there we go. So we generated all of the sprites here, which is kind of nice. But it's not gonna load up at runtime, right? Because it still doesn't know about type of the assets. So this config is kind of universal, and it's kind of important. Because it's used both at build time and runtime. So, but in the future, we're gonna actually do a pretty neat trick where we're gonna generate like a data pack based on this configuration, and release build of the game will not need this configuration. It will only work with the data pack. So, yeah. I'm pretty sure Simple doesn't allow matching strings in Switch. Don't tell them. Don't tell them. I'm so tired of listening just to replace it with Switch case that I just agree and just let them try to do that for themselves. So yeah, let's just don't tell them. Just let them try to do that by themselves, and we'll see how it goes. All right. So now we need to go to the assets typer. I think it's not assets typer, it's actually assets CPP. A CPP when I pee. Very funny joke. Sprite. So here's the sprite, and what we can do here, we can load a sprite. Okay, so load sprite. We provide the ID and asset path. But you can use strings in the case of expression in Haskell. Yes, you can. So that means Haskell is better. Thank you, L9. I'm already triggered. God damn it. You managed to force my brain go into like this rampage of thinking about the differences between Switch case and C++ and the Haskell cases. Yeah, thank you so much. All right. So load frames, assets, load sprites. Sprite, I think. Yeah, load. Yeah, sprite. So we'll have to accept this thing. You're welcome. Path. Cool. Okay, now we do have a path to the file, right? We do have a path to the file, and I kind of want to print that we're loading a sprite. Loading sprite ID from path ... So the next thing we need to do, we need to slurp the whole file. Read file as C, not C star, but string view. So you see how easy it is to read a file in C++. You just read file as a string view, and there you go, you have a string view. So if we couldn't load, right, if source file doesn't have a value, we have to actually panic, I think. Yeah, we can panic. So this is a very old code. It was written before in AIDS we had panic. Yeah, so now these days we have a panic, so we don't have to worry about that. We don't have to panic. could not load sprite file, and it's going to be path like this. And yeah, that's cool. Switch hash. Well, I mean, it works with perfect hashing. If you, yeah. If you can manage to make a perfect hashing for this set of your strings, it will actually work quite well, not gonna lie. Yeah. And after that, after we successfully read the file, we need to not forget to free it. Right, so we can do something like defer, free source. But to be fair, like the idiomatic way in AIDS is to use destroy. And do we have a destroy for strings? I don't think we have a destroy for strings. I think we need to have a destroy for string views. Something like that. So let me show you. Destroy string view sv. Hello dude, chicken in plate. Yeah, that's a good nickname. Thank you so much for making me reading it. Hello, Gist Jolal. Welcome to the stream. So the thing I want to do here, I want to just free the internal thing here. It's going to be sv. I think it's data, right? And I have to specifically cast this entire thing to be able to free. And after that, I can just destroy source unwrap. There we go. So, and I want to make this function a part of AIDS in the future, because basically destroy is kind of similar to hash. It's like overloaded function for everything that is hashable. Destroy is overloaded function for everything that is destroyable, that was allocated before by AIDS. And also we have print1, which is an overloaded function for everything that is printable, right? So we use a function overloading as the interface mechanism for our library. Since you use string view in BM, perhaps it could be rolled into a nice library. Katul, you're focusing on the non-important things. Stop. Please stop. Okay. Now, so we have an input. Source unwrap. Cool. And we are ready to just prepare the sprite. So the sprite is going to be pretty much... by the way, what does sprite even contain? I think sprite as contains... Yeah, it contains an index. This is actually pretty cool. So it already indirectly depends on all of that. So this is going to be just a result, right? This is going to be just a result. And what we're doing, we're going to be iterating through the lines, right? While, this is how you spell while, by the way. What the hell is wrong with me? Can anyone tell me? Like, do I have to visit a doctor or something? I think I just need new glasses or something. All right, input count is greater than 0. Right. So, and we need to chop off a line. So it's going to be line input chop by delimiter, and it's going to be new line. Just do define who will. Yes, that's a good idea. Thank you so much. And also after that, I think we shouldn't forget to trim this entire stuff, right? Maybe. Excuse me. We can use one of the parser formats here. You can parse var config. Yeah, we only have parse var config, but animate files. Okay. So if line count is greater than 0, that means we want to parse this line even further. Right, and how we can do all of that? So line chop by delimiter, and delimiter is going to be equals, and here is going to be a key. So we're getting a key here. We're also trimming it just in case. And a value in our case is going to be the rest of the line, right? The rest of the line, but also trimmed. So now we have a key and we have a value. And depending on the key, we're gonna have like different situations here. So let's take a look. So first key that we have in this sprite here is the texture, right? So here's the texture SV. So if we encounter that, we need to take the value and treat it as the texture name, and we need to query the texture. So get texture by ID, right? And here it is. So we're getting the texture by ID. Texture ID. But here's the thing, texture by ID returns maybe, so that means it may actually fail. So if texture ID doesn't have a value, if it doesn't have a value, we can say something like panic could not find unknown texture ID, texture ID. Actually, just value. Right. So we're gonna just panic. But on top of that, it would be nice to also specify where exactly the fucky wacky has happened. Right, we can specify that it happened at path, but also at which line. Right, we are iterating lines, so if we keep track of the lines, we can actually quite confidently say where exactly that happened. We're gonna do line number is going to start from 1. The reason why I'm starting the lines from 1 is because majority of the tools, they expect the lines in editors, like editors, majority of the editors line numbers from 1. So yeah, I'm just following the convention that editors uses. And then we keep incrementing that. And now I can say something like this path, line number, and there we go. So we can even say precisely where the fucky wacky has happened. If we found the texture ID, we're gonna take the result and assign that texture ID to the result. So according to the sprite definition, right? It's texture index. Yes, it is texture index. Texture index. Index. And I think it should be renamed to index to match these things. Index, there we go. All right, seems good. So this is the first key, right? This is the first key. Let's try to compile it and see if it compiles. It doesn't compile. Would you look at that? Because we don't have this thing in a header file, because it's C++, right? You cannot just define a function. You also have to declare it. If you don't have a declared in header, well, you screwed up, because welcome to C++. All right, so so we have load texture frames. Let's actually put it here. Well, technically you don't really have to do that, but there is a lot of like old conventions that force you to do that. You know, old language, old tired language, just like myself. And we also forgot a comma. We also forgot a comma. Cool, there we go. So next key. So it's going to be the next key that we need to handle in the file. The next one is going to be x. Okay, so else if key is equal to x. Well, that means the value contains x value, right? So we take the value and we try to treat it as an integer, right? And so the position, the definition of the sprite uses SDLRect, and what SDLRect inside of it uses, I don't remember, to be fair. So let's try to find the definition of SDLRect. Maybe I'm going to try to find it on the internet, because I think it's going to be a little bit easier. SDLRect. So it uses integers. Okay, so that means I can do as integer int, and furthermore this thing returns maybe. Right, this thing returns maybe, which means that we have to check if it returned the correct value and fail if we couldn't. And I just remembered that in AIDS we have a pretty interesting function called unwrap or panic, which encapsulates this pattern. So this is a usual pattern where you have like return maybe, and you check if maybe contains anything. If it doesn't contain anything, you panic. And I completely forgot about this function. It's actually super convenient. So you pass a maybe there, and the format string for the panic, and it just does that pattern for you. So essentially, instead of like doing this, I could do something like, let's take a look. Like just forget everything below here. Result texture index get texture by ID, unwrap or panic. So I pass this thing here, and then I pass this formatting here. There we go. This single thing is equivalent to this one, right? So we get something that returns maybe, and we unwrap it or panic, and we also pass whatever we need to print when we panic. So I can just straight up remove this entire thing. So I completely forgot about this pattern. This is actually a super convenient pattern. And then in result, so where is the sprite definition? Where's the sprite definition? src rect x, right? We can do the same thing. I take a value as integer, then unwrap or panic, right? And if it couldn't unwrap it, it's gonna do path, line number, and we can say something like, let me see, value is not a number. There we go. Cool. And we can repeat the same thing for y, w, and h. Yeah. So it kind of makes it look like Rust, to be fair. It's really close to Rust. I mean, the 8 was inspired by a shit ton of different languages and different libraries, because like I tried a lot of things. So it's just a combination of all of this stuff that I've learned so far. Differs, for example, from Go, but this stuff is from Rust. Anyways. Just a combination of patterns that I personally find useful for software development. Similarly, now we need to handle the rest of these things. They're pretty straightforward, just Y8, Y, W, and H. So this is going to be X, X, Y, Y. And I wonder how can we even, you know, simplify all of that? I have no idea. I don't know, technically we can abstract away this entire thing, because I'm going to be repeating it 4 times. So I can introduce something like parse number, right? Parse number, and this is going to be a lambda, which accepts a string, a value, right? And in here we're going to just do that. Yep. I think. No. We have to do it here. There we go. And then I'll have to return. Looks like Java optional. Yeah, optionals were invented by Java, Mojic and Lol. That's why it looks like it, because I literally stole that idea specifically from Java. Because Java was the first language that actually introduced that, believe it or not. Alright. Also looks like no. Haskell actually stole that idea from Java. And Rust also stole that idea from Java. Yeah. Okay. So now what we can do here is quite easily like parse number, right? And I can just do value. And what's cool is that this parse number will automatically get the file, the location, and line correctly. So you don't have to think about that. So it's going to be parse number, just value. There we go. Java best language confirmed? Yes, sure. That's why I'm programming in Java right now, because I think it's a good language. We have a little bit of repetition, but at least we actually abstracted away the things that are pretty much the same. And the cool thing is, again, it automatically gets the position. No, it doesn't, unless I actually specifically capture it. So I'll have to capture it like that. And that means that it cannot be optimized to... Well, I actually, in Godbold, I think I observed C++ compilers optimizing this stuff away, which was kind of cool, I think. Imagine doing src rect key, but there is no such thing in SDL rect definition. It's not like I control the definition of SDL rect, so SDL kind of controls that. Alright, so this looks cool. I wonder if I can actually const these things away. Is it gonna compile? Is it gonna compile? Yeah. First try, mother flipper. About that. So yeah, looks cool. And we're just parsing like a simple format and stuff, and automatically getting the errors. Alright, so let's try to run this game, and couldn't find texture by ID ice spike sprite sheet. Okay, ice spike sprite sheet. Yeah, so because I'm referring to this ice spike sprite sheet, you should consider becoming Russian hitman. Thank you for such a useful message. Alright, ice. Okay, so we have texture, and the second one is gonna be sprite sheet. Where is it? What is it talking about? Ice spikes. It's an animation. Okay, so we just need to remove this thing. It's not from Java, it's from Rust, as you said. Yes, Rust invented it, yes. It's not Java that invented optional type, it's Rust that invented it. Yeah, I knew it. Fucking knew it, mate. Cool. It seems to be working, chat. It seems to be working. Isn't that amazing? Look, look, look. I'm gonna do a pow. I'm gonna pow, a pow. So that means I didn't break anything. I didn't break anything, which is actually pretty cool. And now we have sprites and stuff. Sprites and stuff. I wonder if we had like a way to inspect different sprites, different assets. I think we should be able to do that. Look, look, look. We have things like ls, right? And you can right now ls entities, right? You can ls entities, and right now I have entity like 0. What if we had something like ls sprites, right? So you could take a look at what sprites are loaded. I think that will be actually extremely useful, and I'm gonna go ahead and introduce that. So where's the commands? Commands. I think I'm using the wrong thing. Yeah, this is what I wanted to use. Command ls. There we go. So if we have else if arg equal sprites, what are we doing instead? We are iterating through all of these sprites in the assets. So we have assets object, sprites count, right? Sprites count. And what we're going to be doing is just printing the information about them, their ID, their index, and their name, right? So it's going to be like that. It's going to be game console println. It's going to be assets sprites I. So their index is essentially this thing. So here is their index. We can print it right away, something like this. Right, we can print it right away. And then we need to print their ID. And I think the easiest way to print their ID is to actually query their ID, because in these slots we have their like assets that contain everything that we need to know. Is it going to compile? Hopefully it's going to compile. And struct assets has no member sprites. I think it's called sprite count. I did a fucky lucky. And maybe a little bit of oopsie doopsie, just a hint of oopsie doopsie. Okay, so let me see. ls sprites, and I don't have anything. This is actually very interesting. So we didn't load anything. On top of that, expected entities or sprites. I wonder why. So we can also do something like console println, saying something like assets sprite count sprites found, right? So basically to indicate how many of them we found. Sprites, and we found zero sprites. I think I know what happened. I loaded the sprite, but I forgot to add it to the array essentially. God damn it. All right, so I'm gonna go to the assets. Well, I mean I'm very smart because after loading the asset, at the end of loading, we usually add it. Okay, I see now. I see. So how are we gonna do that? Assets HPP. So here are the sprites. It's an asset, and in an asset we have to fill up ID and path. So we can actually print the path as well. I didn't know that. And I wrote this code. I didn't know that I had so much information about the assets. I can even print the location where they're located. What the fuck? Why there's so much useful information in here? Wait a fucking second. Why is this so good? I didn't expect it. I thought it's a crappy engine. But it's not. I can take sprites and their path, and it will also give me the file. I can just introspect all of that very conveniently. Holy shit, I'm actually a 5-head developer apparently. Okay, so sprites. I think it's a sprite count, and in unwrap we're gonna keep the result. So here's the result. The ID is gonna be the ID, and the path is gonna be the path. So that should work now. Compilation, please. Compilation, please. Okay. So now, if I try to do that, ls sprites. Let's take a look at the log. Did it load any sprites? It actually loaded, like loading sprite, spike 1, and so on and so forth. So it's really strange. Oh, I know. I forgot to increment this thing. So if I programmed in Rust, I would have just used vector, where I could push at the end of the vector, so I never had to worry about that. But since I'm not using it, well, I screwed myself over, I suppose. Also, there is like it's a little bit dangerous. All right. Hello, everyone who just joined. Hello, Lolak, Aaron6969. Haven't seen you guys. And ls sprites. Look at that. Look at that goodness. So now we have the sprites. Like we know that we have ice spike 1 and ice spike 2, and we even know their locations. We even know their locations. That's pretty cool. So we can do ls sprites, and here they are. So we can probably do that for other kinds of assets, right? So we definitely can do that. And in ls you can do entities or sprites. We can probably abstract that away a little bit later. Maybe we're gonna have like a mechanism of subcommands, right, in the future, which makes it super easy to add more subcommands to a particular command entry. And to be fair, there's not that much difference between a command and a subcommand. So what I'm thinking is that maybe we're gonna have a command, right, that can be attached as a subcommand to any other command, and we can have like a hierarchy of them. We need paths for commands. No, we don't. All right. So let me see what we've got. Now I have a sprites, and when I'm constructing an ice thingy. Right, so where's the ice spikes? Spike. By the way, hello, iPave. Welcome to the stream. Hello. Ice spike constructor. There you go. And as a texture index, I'm using this thing. And I'm literally using a texture index where I could have just used a sprite index. Could have just used a sprite index. Yeah, we need to use sprite indices. Spike HPP. So this is a texture. Let's make it a sprite. So this is going to be a sprite index from now on. So that means I cannot just easily reuse it. We reuse frames from animations, which is very interesting. So frames of animations are sprites that don't really have indices. So what I'm thinking is that maybe animations, when they're loading themselves, they also should add their frames as the sprites to the asset system. That's actually very interesting. So here is sprite index. So this gives me a lot of interesting ideas. I'm not gonna lie. So here's the sprite. I'm trying to render the sprites. So and then so here's the texture. Oh god. We don't really have to do that anymore, I think. Will the game's CLI be able to run bash scripts? No. I think we need to get rid of some of this stuff. But specifically, I can probably simplify it. So I'm gonna just remove that. A query replace texture with sprite. Set texture mode. This one is complicated. But looking at the sprite, you can always take its texture. So you can specify shade, right? But it's basically gonna draw stuff on top of it. But you won't be able to specify the mode of any kind, unfortunately. Sprite render. Sprite render. No, you set the color mode. Huh. But you set the color mode not of the texture, but the texture mask. That makes sense. Oh, that's very interesting. So, yeah, we'll have to do a little bit of a like trickery. So inside of the sprite, right inside of the sprite, you also have a texture, and you have to do another querying of that texture. Huh, that's very interesting. So, okay. So this is the texture width. We're gonna call it sprite. We're not gonna even call it sprite width. But one of the things we'll have to do here is we need to also take the texture of that sprite, right? So inside of the sprite we have a texture index. And that's literally what we do, get by index. That's very interesting. So you see, we have a sprite index. We get the sprite from the asset system by that index, right? We also have to do something like this, s, right? Right, so we get the sprite, and sprite refers to a texture, but it also refers it by an index in the asset system. So you have to go back to the assets and get the texture as well. So you have these like layers of interaction, and it might be unnecessary. You could have used pointers and stuff like that, but the reason why we use this system is because it allows us to hot reload all of these assets at runtime. That's kind of the point, you see? Right, so we could have used pointers, but pointers will make it difficult to hot reload all of that because the pointers are absolute values, so you cannot relocate these resources in memory. Once you make them indices, you can relocate them and do some dynamic shit and stuff like that. And for example, you would be able to replace a texture index without sprite index but still refer to the same sprite, and it enables a very dynamic system where any like assets can be easily hot reloaded and stuff like that. It's kind of like cumbersome just a little bit, but it enables a pretty cool stuff. Welcome back, Shazwag. Developer is your main job? Depends on what you mean by developer. What do you mean by developer? So, somebody who develops software? Well, I am a developer and it is my main job, I suppose. Alright, so that's a cool thing. I really like it. Pog Boy subscribed at tier 1. Thank you so much for 2 months of a tier 1 subscription. Thank you, and welcome to our epic game development club. How about that? Welcome. How's your programming learning going on, by the way? I know that you're learning programming, so how's it going? Do you still like it? Are you still passionate about that? So, and what we're gonna do here, by the way, is going good, bro, one day at a time. Nice. Passionate as fuck. That's important. Because, to be fair, programming is kind of a boring and tedious job. And to learn it to do well, you have to be really passionate about it. So, once you start losing passion, it's become worse and worse. Restrict type qualifier. As far as I know, it is actually a C thing, and it's not available on C++ if I remember correctly, but I'm not sure. It is not boring. So that means you still have passion for software development. And that's good, Shazowak. That's good. I also think it's not boring, but for majority of people on planet Earth, it's actually quite a boring job. Nice one, I believe. It sure is boring at times if you do it professionally, believe me. Yeah, I know. Alrighty, so what do we got? So this texture doesn't really contain what I expect it to contain, because what we need to do is to choose. Oh yeah, it's actually in sprites. We need to choose whether we want SDL texture, SDL like surface texture mask or surface mask or something like that. So we have to exactly decide what do we want. So, and where I was, I think I was somewhere in the spikes, and after that, so it's not a spike, here's a spike. So after that, what I need to do, I need to get the texture. There we go, I think I managed to do that. I've done programming professionally for almost 30 years. Studying is right, it gets really boring, so part of doing professionally for a really long time is finding a way to keep it interesting. Yeah. Yep. Well, I have like half of that experience in programming. Like I have 15 years of software development. But even 15 is difficult to maintain, so I cannot imagine what it is like to program for 30 years and keep being passionate about it. So that's actually pretty cool that you managed to still be passionate about it after such a long time. There's yeah, I already saw that message, I think. Almost 1 year of professional programming experience. Nice, it's not bad either. Right, so we have effective height, but effective height is essentially sprite height, so we'll have to replace it with sprite h. Might as well actually take it like that and query replace texture h with sprite src rect h, which will probably screw up with the size of the spike, but maybe that's okay. Maybe that's okay. We'll see how it goes. So we also have a texture h. So this is another one that we want to do. So query replace that with sprite w. Lately I've made Discord bots for big communities in quite many different languages, which has been lots of fun. Yeah, making bots, it is in fact fun. Okay. Sprite src rect. So that's what I'm. Oh, this is not what I wanted. One more time. Sprite w. Sprite src rect w. Cool. So I'm pretty sure I'm gonna break this code. Okay. So, and we don't have a sprite index anymore, sprite texture index, but we do have a sprite index. And in an assets conf, what do we need to have here? We need to have iSpike1 sprite index. Okay, so now we have that. Now we have that. Is it gonna work now? It's gonna work, and it probably fucked up. Okay, let's see how badly we fuck up. Let's see how badly we fuck up. What kind of game are you developing? A platformer one. So we can do pew pew pew. So we're developing right now a mechanism for spike wave, and I didn't break it? Excuse me, what the fuck? Why does it work so well? Alright, so that means I can just switch up the sprite and it will automatically work. Holy shit, wait a second. So will that mean that now we're gonna have the second sprite here? No, we won't, because I forgot to recompile. Did I forget to recompile? I think I forgot to recompile. Was happy finding Sodium go for approvable hairstyle, adopted Knotted. What are you talking about? I don't care about anyone's improvement. Holy shit. I do things because they are convenient for me or because I like to do them. Don't need anyone's approval. Alright. Why is your code working so well? It's not really working that well. Right now, at least. So the second spike here. Okay, here's the second spike, and what's gonna be that? So it should be slightly different. Maybe we're using like an incorrect sprite original. Yeah, something is definitely fishy here, but I'm not sure what exactly. Maybe we just read them incorrectly. That could be a thing. Okay, so if we go here, sprites, right? Sprites. We can also print their like src rect. I think that will be actually kind of useful to know their src rect. So if I go to commands, all right, and command ls, here it is. So on top of printing the asset itself, I want to print its src rect. So we're gonna do it like this: console println. And we're gonna like tab it a little bit, right? So to see that it like a particular thing belongs to a particular entity, and it's gonna be src rect equal, and we're gonna do the following thing: sprites id unwrap and src rect. There we go. So, and I just want to see if we loaded everything correctly. Okay, and the problem here is we don't have a printer for SDL rect. So what we need to do here, we need to make a printer for it. I think we need to implement sprint for it because it's gonna get printed into string buffer. So string buffer s buffer. So it actually has to be pointed as buffer, and we accept a rect here. So how are we gonna print that? We're gonna do sprint as buffer. So let me think. How can I organize that? Just want to organize that in a nice way. X. We can put it this way. Dot x equal rect x. That is going to be. And of course, maybe after that, we also want to do something like this, right? So this one is going to be y, it's going to be w, and this is going to be h. Okay, and forget the semicolon. Okay, seems to be compiled, and let's sprites. So what do we have here? Okay, everything seems to be loaded correctly. And I think I know what exactly happened. Right. Assets. So essentially when spike, we're rendering the spike. Yeah, so this is what we're not supposed to be doing. That's the problem. We're not supposed to be doing this. We're trying to access the texture directly, and we shouldn't be doing that. What we should be doing instead is trying to render the sprite directly. So let's try to get rid of this. So I do have a sprite that I want to render, so it's going to be just sprite. And I'm going to render it with a renderer. But I forgot, in the sprite, what do I have? I have destination and I have a render. I already have a destination, so I don't have to really worry about that. And I can do literally the same. Yeah, but I also do need to keep modifying this thing. Okay, let's try to compile it and see if it's gonna work. Okay, destination rectangle. Oh, it has to be rect F, unfortunately. Oof. But I already do have a rect F. I just converted to SDL rect myself, so I don't have to do that anymore. This is actually super convenient. Okay, can we do that now? And why did it complain? Because it forgot a semicolon. Yes. Okay, and similarly, I want to actually get rid of this thing, like this. Alrighty, so I think I need to make another cup of tea because it gets a little bit cold. Alright, so variable is not set. So that's actually kind of cool. So that means I don't have to calculate it through C. You see, by using sprites, the code actually becomes less complicated, which is nice. Which is absolutely nice. I really like that. Okay, and let's try to run this entire thing. And the moment of truth, chat. I'm gonna test the spikes and see if I didn't fuck it up. Yes, that's actually super cool. Huh. It kind of looks strange, but okay. Surprisingly enough, I think I can now change all of that at runtime. Yeah, I cannot. Huh, that's very interesting. Huh. That's cool. You also have to reload the assets. Alrighty. And we probably don't need any of this stuff. Looks good, but I think you could do it easy in Unity Unreal. Thank you for sharing your opinion. Alright, let's make a cup of tea, boys and girls. Does anyone have any questions while making a cup of tea? You can ask me anything while making a cup of tea, because I'm a little bit cold and I just need a little bit of a coffee. A long tea, no. Earl Grey. The sense of life. This is not how you English. I guess you wanted to say meaning of life. Why not coffee? Because I don't have one. What is your top 3 teas? I don't know. It's not an interesting question. Does anyone have any other questions? What is the coolest action verb for a player to do in a game? Another game developer, I don't know. Did you play any games released in 2020? Did you like any? Actually, I haven't played any modern games for quite some time. The last game I played was Hollow Knight, and I didn't even finish it because it was boring for me. I'm really sorry, like Hollow Knight fans, but I think Hollow Knight is kind of boring. Do you ever solve twisty puzzles like Rubik's Cubes? No, they're boring for me. Why is NVIDIA recognizing my Windows terminal as a game? It's kind of interesting. Is that a new Windows terminal? The one that Microsoft recently released? They could be using like some sort of like a hardware acceleration thing that make NVIDIA think that it's a game, right? Maybe it has like a very gameish like event loop and frame rendering, and it tries to keep it at 60 FPS, something like that. Maybe it's like Alacrity or something. That's an interesting question. Have you ever considered writing a custom window manager in Haskell? Yes, I have. I loved Hollow Knight. I'm not saying that it's a bad game. I just said that I personally find it boring. And I wouldn't recommend listening to me because my brain works in a really weird way. I find a lot of things boring that majority of people find exciting. So yeah, I'm sorry. It's just like you don't need my approvals to enjoy games. Okay, if you enjoy the game, if the game like releases dopamine in your brain, yes, just keep playing it. It just doesn't work for me, right? So you don't need my approval to enjoy things. Okay, so don't interpret things like that. Have you played Bubbles? You know I haven't, but I heard it's Turing complete. So I don't know. Does it make it interesting? Probably. Where are you from? Moscow? No, I'm from Novosibirsk. It's the third largest city in Russia. So first one is Moscow, the second largest city is St. Petersburg, and the third one Novosibirsk. I'm using a game library framework or something. I'm using SDL2. Can you elaborate on what you find boring that others find fun other than the games? Like off the top of my head, Hollow Knight, right? I don't know. But usually the pattern just repeats. Or do you want me to go into specifics, like what I find boring? Specifics are not that interesting. So my criteria of boring is I look at the thing, does it release dopamine in my brain? It doesn't, I find it boring. I usually don't try to analyze why. It's just like I look at it, is it interesting, not interesting, I move on. So yeah, it's purely like a biochemical criteria for me. So it doesn't have any like deep philosophical or logical reasoning behind all of that. It's just purely biological thing. So yeah, different brains just work differently. They just get excited by different things. They just get tickled by different things, right? So don't try to find the meaning behind that or anything like that. You know, just enjoy the things that you do enjoy. If the thing makes you happy, just keep doing that thing, unless it's antisocial. All right, so I'm gonna go to the kitchen, right, and turn on the kettle, and I'm gonna go back, right, and don't go anywhere. Don't close the tap. If you do close the tap, I'm gonna tickle your brain. I enjoy drugs. Well, hello. Who wants a brain tickle? Let's continue, chat. Let's continue. So we need to understand what the fuck is going on, mate. What the fuck is going on? It's kind of funny. Every time I go to the kitchen and I tell people do not leave, I come back and we have like 10 to 20 people leaving. What the fuck? I tell people don't leave, I'm gonna be back, and people are leaving. SMH my head. SMH my head. Okay, so it's kind of strange as ice spike. So here's the second one, so I guess we need to make the first one. How is this game coming? Oh, it's fucking coming, just like Billy Harrington. Alright, so Do not tell them that you're going. Oh, just leave and okay. All right, probably that's an interesting idea. Just leave out of nowhere without warning, like, or something, and yeah, just confuse them, and they're gonna stay on the stream just being confused for like 30 seconds. That's actually a good idea. That's actually a good idea. Okay, and they're getting squashed. If you look at that, you see they're squashed. Why the fact they're squashed? You can actually see the shaking of the screen. Why are they so... I definitely fucked up something. I definitely fucked up something. And I think I know what exactly. Yeah. Alright. Alright. So here's the squashing. Maybe we're gonna keep them squashed. Alright, so we were modifying SRC. Perhaps squashed equal false. Yeah, it works just exactly like Unity, right? If something is squashed, that just means that we forgot to untoggle a particular property. Yeah. SMH my head. Alrighty. So this is SRC, and the thing about SRC is that we have to assign that SRC to the sprite we're actually rendering. So that's what we need to do. Alright, so let me quickly unstage that. So now we're gonna have that. And now we're gonna also have that. Cool. So it's not gonna compile because we're not using SRC rect anymore. But I think, depending on what is the actual SRC rect. Alright, so I need to revert this. Cool. So this is SRC rect, but what we'll have to do here is sprite src rect x, sprite src rect y. Maybe we don't even have to do it this way. I have an idea. I have an epic idea. So src, yeah. So then we have an effective height, which is and then effective height is used there. So when we also use it as an effective height. So that means here we need to do sprite src rect w, which is going to be just sprite. Well, we don't have to modify that, so we only have to modify effective h, which is going to be florf int. Okay, I think I figured it out, chat. I think I figured it out. In case of SRC, we don't have to worry about that at all. I think I figured it out. Cool. Is it gonna work now? It's probably not gonna work now because, yeah, we don't need this thing anymore. Yeah, cool. So, let us see. God damn it. Okay, so now it emerges out of the floor, as you can see. It emerges out of the floor, and this is exactly what I wanted to see. Amazing. So let's go ahead, and for the IC spike constructor here, I'm gonna put like a 2 here, right? So here it is, 2. And now, right, what we have here is gonna be the second spike, right? So this is a completely different, and it also appears out of the floor, right? So it doesn't squash, it just appears out of the floor. Yep. Did it work? Did it work? Yes, it fucking worked. Yes, I confused some people so nobody left. Perfect. It worked. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you so much for whoever suggested that. It actually works. Okay, so we have different sprites and shit. So what I'm thinking is that now maybe we need to parameterize all of that with a sprite index. So it's gonna be index and sprite index. So we're gonna put it here. So the thing I want to do now, I want to just do like a sprite variation for the spikes. Okay, so undefined reference. So when we're updating here, okay, that's cool. So we're gonna do something like if rand 2 equals 0, right? If it's equal 0, we are using ice spike 1 index. Otherwise, we're using 2. And why it doesn't work? No matching game index sprite. This is because I have to do it like this. It's a part of the constructor. It's a part of the constructor, so we have to remove this thing and put it here. Actually, is it going to compile now? Hopefully, it's going to compile now. Cool. Now, get ready, chat. Are you ready? Now we have a variation. How about that? Isn't that amazing? We have it like a sprite animation. We could also probably come up with something like, I don't know, like different sizes and shit. Yeah. We can try to play with the parameters, because I think parameters are kind of meh. So we can go to vars conf. So where's the ice spike? Spike. Okay, so we have a spike step. So spike step is basically the distance between the spikes. What if we reduce it to like this? Right, they become a little bit more packed, right? And because we reduced it, we can actually make more of them, probably. So I think this is too much, in my opinion, in the 7. But we definitely need some sort of a variation for them, because they look like the same. It's kind of meh. Yeah. Cool. That's pretty nice, and I think it's deserved doing a committee. So what exactly did we do here? Updated that. Here's the commands. By the way, do I define any sprite once? Sprints. Sprint once. So I have 8. Oh, I do have. That's cool. Okay, so I have a special place where I keep all of the printers. That's nice. So maybe this is where I have to take my command, like a rect printer, and I think that's a good place to put it. I do think so. Yeah, I think we also need to update the color printer, but it's not that important right now. Yeah. How do you tracking changes and reloading conf files simply check in game loop? Yeah, it's a check in game loop, but depending on the platform, the check is actually kind of different. Look, so I have a special interface. Yeah, it looks like this. So I call it File Modification Watcher. So it's a very simple interface. So what you do, you take the file path for the file for which you want to track modifications, and it returns you a special handler, right, FMW, right, and then in a game loop you check whether a particular file modified, and then you can free this handler after you're done with all of that. So this is a very simple interface. I designed that interface myself. The problem here is that on different platforms, Windows, Linux, macOS, FreeBSD, and our game works on these 4 platforms, by the way. It works quite good on all of them. You can do this kind of stuff differently. So on top of having this FMW header, I also have different kinds of implementations. So I have FMW iNotify. iNotify is a Linux mechanism. iNotify is a Linux mechanism that enables you with tracking file system modifications. So you see, API provides a mechanism for monitoring file system events. Right. So it's an implementation of FMW for Linux. It's not gonna work on Windows, right? So for Windows, we have IOCP implementation, which is not gonna work on Linux. So you see, it's different implementations of the same interface. KQ is implementation for macOS and FreeBSD. And in our build unit, so we use a single compilation unit where we just include all the CPPs into a single file and compile it as an executable, right? Depending on your platform, right? Whether it's a Linux, you include iNotify. If it's Apple, FreeBSD, whatever, you include a KQ. If it's Microsoft, you include IOCP. If it's non-recognized platform, we have a dummy implementation, right? A dummy implementation that doesn't have like anything. And yeah, there you go. So this is how I do that. I have a single interface for file modifications, and for different platforms I support all of that. We have different implementations of that interface. Does it make sense? And what's interesting is that I personally implemented only iNotify. KQ and IOCP were contributed by the viewers. By the way, thank you everyone who contributed to this project. This is actually super cool. So yeah, so I only defined an interface, implemented Linux one, and let people implement the rest of these things. And it was actually a pretty cool collaboration that we had. It was super fun. I wanted such thing for shaders updating, and I apply stdfs and check-in date. Well, check-in date is one of the one way you can do that. So before I support, but was overwhelming for me. Yeah, this kind of stuff is kind of complicated, right? It's just easier to check the date, and it's automatically cross-platform. I don't know. We decided to do it this way. It was actually so much fun to implement. So I don't know. Feel free to actually steal this code. This entire game is under MIT license, so you can literally take this code and use it in your project, even closed sourced one. Yeah. Yeah. So everything here is under MIT, so feel free to do whatever you want to do. All right. So let's go. Maybe we should like extract this thing into like a library so people can reuse it. Would be interesting. Because I'm definitely, if I ever will need this kind of stuff again, I'll definitely be just reusing this code. But yeah. TSMR, yes, exactly, TSMR. Alright, so I want to also kind of introduce the size variation for the spikes. Let me see how we can do all of that. Size variation sounds extremely interesting. So we have a sprite variation, but what about the size variation? In ice spikes, you are a star. Am I? And no, I'm just a weird dude from Russia. That's what kind of star is that? All right. So here's the thing. So ice spike, and oh shit, we do have a scale. That's amazing. So yeah, That's absolutely goddamn amazing. So here's the variation, and I can also parameterize the scale here. So it's going to be red star. Haha. Okay, so let's go and recompile everything. But thank you for telling me that I'm doing great work. Like, it's... To be fair, like, I'm really apologize that sometimes it's kind of difficult for me to accept compliments because I have a really low self-esteem. So that's why sometimes I like answer weird like that. So yeah. Okay. And also, we're on the internet, you never know when people being like ironic or not. Okay. So this is going to be that, and I think we also need to do a random float range. So it's going to be from 2 to, let's say, it could be actually from 1 to 2. I think that could be okay, and we can remove all of this stuff. All of this stuff, and there we go. More people should be weird guys from Russia. There are different kinds of weird guys from Russia. I mean, alright, so okay. Oh, that looks funny. So does it look interesting or anything? Huh. It does actually add a little bit like of variation for them. But maybe they have to be like 2 to 4. Maybe that would be a little bit more interesting. We could actually make these things a config variables too, so it's easier for us to modify them. Let's actually do that. So it's going to be var conf spike wave scale low, right? Scale low, and this one is going to be scale high, right? And if we do something like that, float 2, and this is going to be high, so we can control how it goes, if you know what I mean, right? So hopefully it will compile. Okay, let's restart that, and I should actually implement something like that would easily get me teleported there. Oh shit. Oh fuck. With this kind of range, like it's kind of cool that they're grouped together. I think it's kind of cool. Yeah, but the range is too huge. I can try to change that so the range is not as. What about like 1 and 3? Oh shit. This is not what I wanted. Huh. Huh. And it's also kind of weird that the distance between them is the same. Right, so we can try to reduce the step to 100. Or maybe even smaller. Because depending on what we're doing... Oh shit. Come on. So definitely shouldn't be smaller than 1. Definitely shouldn't be smaller than 1. Okay, I think this is a good variation. I kind of like it. I kind of like it. And we can make like maybe 6 of them. Seven. Depends on the distance we want to go. So poof speed, appear speed. I don't remember what they mean actually. Is that like a... It's like a speed. Okay. I think this is a pretty good solution. Yeah. This seems super complicated and super fun at the same time, because it is, actually, believe it or not. This is a very complicated project. Maybe I would even say a little bit unreasonably complicated, but Not much. So the asset system is definitely interesting. I wish I could simplify it even further, but yeah. This overlapping alpha blending looks weird. Yeah, it does. Can you make them fade as one, like a layer fade instead of individually sprites fading? Probably. But that will require modifying, like synchronizing their fading phases. Yeah, overlapping is actually kind of meh. But I don't think I can do anything about that. It'll be cool to see them getting bigger. Okay, so let me see what we can do about that. Let me see. So we have a count. Right, count. Spike wave. All right. All right. Where is the spike? This is not spike. Directory position, cooldown. Let's put scale here. Okay. So, and when we are activating this entire stuff, scale is going to be spike wave scale low. We're going to start it low, right? And what's going to be the step? Scale step. A scale step is going to be actually spike wave scale high minus spike wave scale low, right? Divided by account. What's up, old man? Welcome back. So divided by the amount of these things. Alright, so this is going to be something like outer scale step, right? So, and this entire thing is also constant. So what's cool about that, these values are constant values. By the way, people who are saying that this, you know, auto reloading thing is cool, there's even cooler thing with this engine. There's even cooler thing with this engine. When you try to compile a release mode, right? So let's actually try to compile a release mode. So what's gonna happen, right? What's gonna happen is that our build process will take that config, vars config. So this entire vars config. Let's just wait a little bit. It actually takes some time to compile the release because it, you know, optimizes everything, and it generates this thing. No, not actually these things, but this thing. So you see, it takes this entire stuff and bakes it into the code. So all of these values become compile time values. They become compile time values. So the compiler in the final release build knows these exact values and can fold some of the constants and can optimize them properly. So this is even cooler than that. So they are hot reloadable in debug, but when we do a release mode, they are not hot reloadable, they become baked into the executable and optimized. Isn't it cool? I think it's pretty cool. So yeah, here they are. So now I'm gonna go to the spikes, and this is the step, right? So, and in the release build, right, this entire expression will be executed at compile time. What do you mean by optimized? Constant folding. So first of all, a constant folding will be applied to to as many things as possible, right? Second of all, once constant folding is applied, some particular values, new values, will be known to the compiler, right? And if the folded value was used in a loop could be, for example, unrolled properly. And again, you can check out what is loop unrolling. So there could be like a lot of different optimizations that could happen if you have enough information. So essentially, the more information compiler has, the more different steps of optimization it can apply, the faster your code it can make. Do you have a sense for the performance hit you get just from reading the parameters from the text file versus compiling? What do you mean by sense? I don't understand. Sometimes it's nice for a game engine to keep some constant in text file for modding, APIs, etc. The game is open source. If you want to mod the game, you just grab the source code of the game and you change the source code. Can you give a quick brief of what compiler does is? Are you trolling me? You can Google up what is a compiler. It's a computer program that translates computer code written in one programming language into another language, the target language. So that's what it is. So, for example, yeah, you have a code in C++ and you give it to the compiler and gives you executable, which translates it to native code. All right. So here's the spike, here's the scale step, and yeah, that's what we're gonna do here. So we're gonna be applying actually the scale like this, and after that we're gonna do scale plus scale step. So, and that will increase slowly the all right, so I think it will have some sort of a trolling raid. Okay, let's continue. Okay, so as you can see, they're increasing over time. So does it make it look good? Does it make it look good? Maybe. So we could probably start from a smaller thing. Yeah, I think like from around 1.5. From around 1.5 is okay. But you see, the smaller they are, like the smaller the distance you also need to have. Like you also need to keep adjusting the step as well. So maybe. So that looks cool. Is it better? Is it better? I wonder if we can do something like this. Yeah, we can do that in opposite direction. That's cool. Yeah. Mm, 1.5. All right, I think that's enough of bike shading. So let's actually try to commit that. Otherwise, we won't be able to get anywhere. So crystal spicy thingy, blah, blah, blah. So here are the sprites. That's pretty cool. Yep. So, oh yeah. Okay, so I wanted to add destroy to aids, right? I wanted to add destroy to aids, but I think first I need to try to update the version of the aids. For those who doesn't know, aids is the library, the replacement for std that I developed myself and I use in pretty much all of my C++ projects. Right. If you edit radial damage to spikes, then the opposite direction would make sense. Radial damage. You mean the damage in a particular radius? Opposite direction. What work towards the left too? Yes, it does. I'm not sure if I'm understanding. So depending on where you look, actually the player is not supposed to be using this technique. It's not supposed to be using. It's actually for enemies, but I'm using the player entity just to test things out. The closer you are. Oh, okay. Oh, I see. Yeah, it probably will make sense. All right. So let's go. So what's the latest version of AIDS? I think we need to take a look at it. 35.1 and yeah, we're on the latest version, so that's cool. That means I can try to add this thing to AIDS. Read file as string view. Okay, so and we're gonna actually put the destroy here. So and new AIDS release, yes, exactly. It's gonna be 36.0 and was destroy 37, yes. And according to our tradition, the 37th release won't exist. It will never happen. So basically we're gonna jump straight into the 38 one. But this time it's literally never gonna happen. So if I'm gonna increment 36, I'm not gonna increment it to 36, to 37. I'm gonna increment it straight into 38. And you won't be able to prove that it ever happened because there will be no commit for 37. So this time you won't be able to prove it because it just doesn't exist. It literally won't exist. Anyway. And I can also actually force push into AIDS and remove any traces of 0.27. So, haha. Okay, so that looks cool. So in AIDS, we edit everything. So let's actually copy AIDS back. Yep. So if you want to use AIDS, you can find the source code here. I think I already gave you the source code. I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself. I'm a little bit tired. Yep. So let's take a look if the examples still build. The examples still build. And what about the tests? I think we didn't really do much, so the tests still work, obviously. You see, we even have unit tests. Okay. So 0.36.0 release. And what did we do in this release? We did these things. We introduced destroy. But on GitHub, Sodin can force push into your fork as well. I think you can forbid the owners to push into your forks. I think there's like a special tick there. Not 100% sure. But you can fork without using GitHub and shit. Wait a second. Did I forget to fetch the latest changes? Okay. So let's fetch everything. And hopefully I will be able to just rebase on top of that. Oh, okay. So I just added people who contributed to AIDS, you know, to the contributor list. So okay, let's actually rebase it on top of the master. Origin master. Should be very straightforward. So nothing much changed. So okay, now let's push that right into the repo. Yeah, exactly, Outline. So you can actually clone it like that. Right, so I mean fork it. You can clone it and create separately in your repo and just push it. So Git by itself is kind of Pepega. A lot of like GitHub limitations are like artificial and just create new repo and push it with the history. Yes, that's what you can do. By the way, the new version of 8 has been released, so you can check it out here if you're interested, of course. And yep. So let's go back to something. And so what we need to do here, I think, I want to test if this thing still compiles. Something debug. You can also git clone mirror, if I got correctly. Mirror. What does it do though? That's very interesting. Git clone mirror. Set up a mirror of the source repository. This implies bare compared to bare mirror not only maps local branches of the source to local branches of the target, it maps all refs, including remote tracking branches nodes, and sets up a ref spec configuration such that all the refs are overwritten by git remove update and target repository. Oh, okay. So I see. So it creates like a bare repo. Do you guys know what's the difference between like just a repo and bare repo? It's kind of an interesting concept, by the way. So here's your repo. A bare repo is going to be whatever you have in .git. So this is your bare repo. And by the way, you can actually clone this kind of repos. So we can actually try to do that. So you can do clone something into something clone. Yeah, by the way, not everybody knows that, but you can clone local repositories. So you can clone not only HTTP or SSH URLs, you can clone local repos. Like, it's actually quite surprising how many people just don't know that. So that's kind of the point of Git. It's like a decentralized thing. And you can just do that. You can clone the local repo and done. We just cloned it. And here it is. So something clone. Here it is. So it's a clone of the repo, and you can actually push. I think you cannot push into the local ones. There's some limitations, but you can fetch from them. And if you never knew that you can do something like that, you actually miss out on a lot of things. Read a book called ProGit. It's a very useful book. You don't have to read everything from that book. You only need 3 first chapters. And like, trust me, you're gonna learn a lot about Git. Seriously, and all of that information is going to be extremely useful, and I think it's quite important in 2020, considering that Git is pretty much everywhere. I'm not a big fan of Git. It has a lot of flaws, but the fact that it's like omnipresent makes it important to know how to use it. It's just like with JavaScript, right? I don't like JavaScript either, but the fact that it's omnipresent means that you have to know it, at least to some extent. Like, so essentially Git is a JavaScript of version control system. That's a nice analogy, by the way. I never knew that I would come up with such an analogy, but anyway. Oh, I closed. I got so tired of chat, I accidentally closed it. Yes. Yeah. Anyway, I wanted to close the book. I didn't close the chat. Okay, so you can clone shit like that, but furthermore, you can not only clone, right, but you can also specify the flag bare, and look what's gonna happen. Okay, so you have original repo, you have a clone, and you have a bare clone. Guess what's gonna be in the bare clone? In the bare clone, you're gonna have a contents of .git. You literally have the contents of .git. You have this head, config, description, all of this Git bullshit. So this is a bare repo. So to know what's the difference between Git repo and bare repo, here it is. So here's your repo, and your bare repo is whatever you have in .git. So obviously, like, it doesn't have the same exact content, but yeah, it's kind of like similar concept. So the difference could be is that it may not have all of the ref. Yeah, and this is exactly the reason why I need mirror, because bare clone doesn't clone everything. That's why the content is slightly different. But if you do mirror, it will literally clone everything. And we can actually try to do that. So what if we try to do a mirror? So the content of the original repo in the mirrored repo should be exactly the same. So in the mirror, it's not exactly the same, but Yeah, I guess some of the things that's... Yeah, whatever. I know nothing about Git apparently. Yeah, Git is still a mystery for me. Oh my god, and now it will ask for each individual folder now. I think, oh, I could have just say all, but anyway. Anyways. Hello, Bearbold. Do you have one or two examples of why you're critical of Git? No. Let's continue. Doesn't matter. So let's continue. What do we need to do here? We need to update the aids. Yeah. 342. Update aids. 36.0. Cool. So this is an asset typer, and in the assets, yeah. So this could be a completely separate change as well. Right. So let's actually do that. Do I really need to do it like this? I think I do need to do it like that. This one is interesting. Sprites and that. Alright. So this could be introduce a new type of asset. People are like, but what's the point of bare repos when they don't realize that the bare repos are literally what they're pushing into the Git hub? Yes. That's what they're doing. Introduce a new type of asset. Sprite. Okay. Alright, so we can actually now have separate commits for all of that. Aha. 342 improve spike wave variation. Spike wave variation. Add string buffer printer for SDL rect. And the last thing is gonna be 342 introduce ls sprites subcommand. There we go, and I'm gonna push that right into the repo. Cover your bare repos for fuck's sake. Yes. Cover your bare repos with a work tree. Because whatever you have here is a work tree, as far as I know, right? And a bare repo is here, so I sort of covered it. Whatever. This joke was too nerdy. Alright, let's rebuild everything, and we are about to make a pull request. Chat, are you ready for a pull request? We made a lot of changes. Where is my tea? I'm just waiting for the full rebuild with the release, and yeah, that's cool. Okay. So let's create a pull request. We haven't had a pull request to this project for quite some time already, not gonna lie. So let's go. Wait a second. I just noticed something. Oh, it's so slow. I still have a Hacktoberfest this week. Does anyone want to get a t-shirt? Submit a pull request to this repo. It's too late, I'm joking. It's too late. But I still have these tags on like everywhere. I remember creating Git remote and spraying in some bash magic in a post receive hook to imitate Heroku. Oh, that's cool. I wouldn't be surprised if Heroku is built completely using bash script. Improve spike wave variation, and that's exactly what this issue was all about. And we're gonna close that issue like this. Remove them? No, I'm not gonna remove them. I think they look good on my repo. Oh look, we actually meet the limitation. Yeah. But we also changed a lot of files here. Huh. That's cool. That's very cool. I wonder if year 2027 will never happen. Yes. Hello, the fish pool. Welcome to the stream. Do we need like an alias to bold? Adidas bold. Okay, I can redirect here. Sure. Now we have a bold. Bold and bankrupt. No, I'm not in. But I definitely speak better Russian than him. Aha, God, I'm joking. He speaks better English than me. His Russian is okay, actually. It's understandable. His grammar is completely fucked up, but I mean, he's understandable at least. Bold and molding, yes. Okay, I'm just waiting for the continuous integration to kick in. Yeah. Who cares about grammar in 2020? I mean, come on. Especially in Russian language. Grammar is overrated. So animals communicate with each other without any fucking grammar, so whatever. Animals that are not humans, I mean. When will be 2021 in Russia? It's already 2021? What's this? Uvu. What's this? Oh, 2021. God damn it. It's a reflex. I'm sorry. Ah, shit. I see. Oh, fuck. Somebody vanish me. I wanna vanish. 2021. I keep forgetting that it's already like. It's 2021. Oh, by the way, can I do Steel 2020? Oh yeah, it does. Yeah, already somebody tried to do that. I'm too slow. Fuck. Why am I so slow? We're waiting for FreeBSD. Change your habits. Just change your habits. Just change your habits. Okay, so do we have any other issues to work on? Do we have anything else? Spike wave goes through tiles. Game supports only one spike wave. Yeah, that's kind of fun. You cannot send several of them. Oh yeah, that's actually very interesting. You cannot send the other one. Huh. We can even try to test that. So the way to test that is to increase the amount of things. So imagine that you're gonna have 100 of the spikes, right? So which sounds reasonable, I suppose. Right. So you're starting like around here, and they keep going. Oh, you cannot see that. They move too fast. We need to decrease their speed. Appear speed. Let's actually make it like 5, so it appears very slow. It's so funny. Look at that. And then, fuck. It's still. That's actually a very interesting effect. So, but essentially, if you try to do that several times, like it doesn't continue, so you cannot send several of these waves. So, because the game itself only supports a single spike wave. Spike wave here, you see, there's only one single one. You cannot send multiple of them. To fix that, we'll need to introduce an array of the spike waves, right? We'll need to introduce an array and manage that array and so on and so forth, similarly how we manage everything else. So yeah, it's gonna be fun, trust me. All right, is it done yet? Is it done yet? I'm still waiting for FreeBSD. FreeBSD is the slowest one. The reason why it's so slow is because GitHub Actions do not support FreeBSD. And we literally have to, well, I mean, the whoever implemented this support, they have to literally set up virtual box machine with FreeBSD. Yeah, that's why it takes like around 10 minutes or something like that. 69 spike wave limit. Yeah, probably. But I mean, if you hit the amount of spikes, like this limit, it just doesn't spawn any spikes. And at any point we can easily actually extend that. It's not that big of a deal, in my opinion. I think there is limit, so it's kind of like based on time or something. I don't quite remember what exactly is going on there, but there is a limit. So at some point it just won't work, right? You're just wasting minutes or something or whatever. I don't quite remember. Okay, it's done. So our game successfully built on 4 major platforms: Linux, macOS, Windows, and FreeBSD, using 2 different compilers, GCC and Clang. Cool. Let's merge all this and delete everything. Cool. Epic cool. Absolutely fucking epic cool. Let's go to the master and fetch the other stuff. Origin master. Cool. So now I want to fix this thing. Basically add support for multiple spike waves. Right. Spike wave goes to tiles. There's no game supports only one spike wave. Okay. So let's just quickly do that, because that one sounds like a pretty simple and small issue that we can just fix. So let's quickly do that, chat. Spike wave, right? So it's gonna be just like this: spike wave s, and we're gonna have spike wave s capacity, right? Spike wave capacity, and the capacity is gonna be what? Guess what? You already know that, chat. Is gonna be 69. Nice capacity, by the way. Very nice capacity. Alright, so let's go to the compilation errors, right? Let's go to the compilation errors. Cool, so here, what we're doing, we need to update all of the spikes. So it's gonna be something like size I, 0, spike waves capacity I, and yeah, we're just, you know, updating separate spike waves here. Some time ago I experimented with GitHub Actions self-hosted runners. This works really cool. You just use GitHub Actions syntax and use your own machine without limitations. It works even ARM. Wait, did you like write your own GitHub Action runner or use someone else? Interesting. Shouldn't be that difficult to implement your own thing. Okay. So, and here is the thing. So we activate. Okay, so we need to put an abstraction around that, right? We need to activate. So this is gonna be game HPP spike. So here are the spike waves, spawn spike, spawn spike wave, right? Oh, GitHub provides runners. That's actually pretty cool. Spike. So we can activate. Yeah. We need to provide position and direction, right? So you should be able to spawn a spike wave at that particular direction. Yeah, okay. So let's just implement that real quick. And essentially it's going to be similar to how we do that with entity, right? So first of all, we need to find one inactive spike, right? So we need to iterate through all the spike waves. Spike waves capacity. and if spike waves I count is equal 0, as far as I know, that's the indication of the spike wave being dead, right? So if count is 0, that means we wasted all of the spikes in the spike wave, and we can try to activate another one. So this is how we're gonna do all of that. So spike waves I, and we just activate it at a particular position in a particular direction. There we go, should be as simple as that. And then we can break out of the, actually return out of the function completely. And if we try to build all that, so it still will fail. And here, spike waves, oh, because this is not a part of the game, it has to be part of the game to work properly. It's integrated with GitHub and you can easily see results of UCI just like it's running on their machine. Okay, maybe I should set one up. Sounds actually pretty cool. So game spawn spike wave, and that's literally what I'm gonna use here. Right, that's literally what I'm gonna use here, and let's see if it's gonna work now. Gia! My god, welcome. Really glad to see you. We actually improved the spike wave. I'm gonna show you. Yeah, spike wave is actually super cool now. If I didn't break it. Yeah, so it actually looks like this. Yeah, bow, pow. And there's also well, yeah. There's also variations of them and stuff like that. So that's pretty cool, that's pretty pog. Haven't fixed the wall hack. Well, it's a completely separate issue though. Alright. So, and that's not what we're currently doing anyway. Okay, so now we have like a pool of spike waves. So we support several of the spike waves now, which is pretty cool. It wasn't that difficult. Let me see. 339. 339. 339. There we go. 339. Make the game support several spike waves. Spike waves. There we go. And let's push that right into the repo. And let's create the pull requests. Okay, so I guess we did a pretty good job on today's stream, right? We refactored the asset system yet again a little bit. We introduced a variation for the wave, for the spike wave, and yeah, we also extended the engine. But unfortunately, boys and girls, this is time for me to go. I'm a little bit tired already. Thanks everyone who's watching me right now. I really appreciate it. Have a good one, and I see you tomorrow. Tomorrow, according to the schedule, we're gonna be doing a virtual machine yet again. Yes, we're gonna be doing a virtual machine, and we're gonna improve it. So I'm gonna change the schedule. So I think we're gonna have like 3 virtual machine streams per week, because it's actually super interesting and people seem to like it. So yeah, tomorrow we're gonna start virtual machine stuff again, and then on Thursday we're gonna do Advent of Code again, and on Friday we're gonna do another one-off stream. Also check out our schedule, which I'm gonna update quite soon. So this is the schedule I'm talking about. Check out our VODs channel where we upload all of our streams, where we archive them. This stream is going to be there, but tomorrow, so you can watch the streams on YouTube. And also check out Discord server for offline discussion with the community. And yeah, that's it for today, boys and girls. That's it for today. Thanks everyone for watching. Love you all. Mwah.